Hey now, we are getting over, and I am the Silver King, Adam Silverstein, here to lead you through these hard times. With your 2025 WWE Survivor Series WarGames Ultimate Preview. That's right, Getting Over is back once again, and we are here not only to break down everything that happened in the world of WWE next week, but give you a comprehensive preview for the final main roster premium live event of 2025 WWE Survivor Series WarGames. Vintage Chris Vanini will be along momentarily to help the Silver King break it all down. Off the top of this show, though, I do need to remind you to follow us on social media at Getting Overcast. Not only on Twitter and Blue Sky do you get episode drops, news, analysis, highlights. You can send in questions and comments for the show. You will be able to vote in our pre and post show polls before and after Survivor Series WarGames this weekend. Also, when you subscribe to us at Getting Overcast on YouTube, you can listen to full-length audio episodes and watch full-length video interviews, the latest of which came out earlier Tuesday. We are operating in a 2 for Tuesday format today as we cut this episode, but the Silver King sat down one-on-one for 30 minutes with none other than All Ego Ethan Page, the NXT North American champion and a big-time, of course, WWE superstar who it feels like his main roster call-up is coming any day now. And he actually took issue with that whole conversation around main roster versus NXT. He provided us with his own definition of professional wrestling, and we had an extended conversation about his career both in WWE and elsewhere. So across the board, make sure to follow us at Getting Overcast. Vintage, welcome into the show. Everything is bubbling up for us at the same time, right? The NFL season's getting hot. College football is entering rivalry week with championship week, and then the postseason upcoming. And of course, WWE, it has Survivor Series WarGames moving into the end of 2025. One of the most exciting times of the year. How's everything going for you?
Busy week. I won't be going home for Thanksgiving, but I will be going to Texas versus Texas A&M on Friday night.
Fun.
That'll be fun down in Austin. A lot of big football, a lot of big wrestling. I'm excited, though. It's a fun, hectic time, but we like it.
Is Austin a drive or a flight for you?
It's a drive there. I will get a hotel on the way back because it's a night game.
So you'll like drive halfway and get a hotel, or will you just stay? Oh,
yeah,
because they'll be expensive in Austin. So, yeah.
Well, not really, not actually that expensive in Austin because it's a big city. But I just want to save myself some drive back, so I'll do some driving back on Friday.
That way, you're not as exhausted Saturday, and because there's a lot of games in the morning and stuff. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's a big week, man, and I will say that the anticipation for Survivor Series WarGames, and look, I'm not going to remember to hit the sound drop every single time I say it. I'll do it as often as I can when it's on my screen during the show. I'd love to bat 1,000 for dropping Survivor Series WarGames on your asses. The anticipation for it is high in one respect. In another, I'm a little surprised that there's not more. It's a stadium show for WWE in the United States. And it just feels like there should be more people involved. I'm not saying in the 2 WarGames matches, those are stacked, but more people involved on the card, more things at stake on the show. It's the last time there's going to be this main roster premium live event until the Royal Rumble, end of January, beginning of February, it may be. And it just feels like, okay, yeah, I know there's a Saturday night's main event, but we've been told already that's John Cena's retirement and then WWE versus NXT on that entire show. So it just feels like kind of a missed opportunity not to do more.
I guess, but the WarGames matches have like all of the stars in it. Yeah. So it's like, it's not like any of those people are really being short shifted. We are getting everybody the fans really want to see on this show. And I like it. I also don't like it at the same time. We'll get into it. We get into those matches, right. But they did load up the show with all the big names. They're just all in, 2 matches in John Cena.
Right. But even in the past when that's been the case, and certainly these are the most loaded WarGames matches, I would say, in terms of star power. But even in the past when they weren't as much, they just had, a triple threat for the Intercontinental Championship. Like it was like Braun Breaker, Ludwig Kaiser, and I forget who the third person was last year. United States Championship match, kind of random on the show. So they just made sure there was more. I want to say there was a non-title Finn Balor AJ Styles match a couple of years ago that was on the card. So you can build other good matches. Like you said, everyone's on it. Everyone is not on it. A lot of folks are, don't get me wrong. But like sure, some of those names, AJ Styles, Finn Balor, Bayley, Lyra Valkyria, they're not there. Roxanne Perez, Raquel Rodriguez, Jade Cargill, the new, women's champion, WWE women's champion. Of course, there's 2 of those titles. It just feels like this card should be a little bit more filled out. But to your point, we'll get to that later in the show when we give you the WWE Survivor Series WarGames Ultimate Preview. So the way this show is going to work is we have still for you the main event. We're going to talk about the big topic for the week in WWE, the good, the bad, and the ugly, where we will break down everything else that happened across Raw and SmackDown, the WWE Survivor Series WarGames Ultimate Preview, where we will talk about all 4 matches on that card, including everything that transpired on Raw and SmackDown to build them. But I'll tell you what, though, Chris, frankly, with all of that still to come on the show, we have plenty already to talk about.
But I'm afraid I've got some news.
As surprised as I am to utter these words to start this show, Chris, SmackDown was better than Raw this week. There were continued problems with the opening and the inability to properly feature the women's division. Those remained ongoing. But top to bottom, for the first time in a long time, I enjoyed the 2 hours on Friday much more than the 2.5 hours on Monday. Brock Lesnar slipping and falling in the final moments of that show Monday night was a perfect representation of the entire episode of Raw. A contributing factor is that the women were booked terribly on Monday night. There were no women's matches on WWE main roster television the entire week, which is simply stunning to me across 5.5 hours of TV. Especially Raw, though, it was an issue because the women have been carrying that show. So no wonder it took a step back. Even the men's and women's WarGames matches, I felt were built better on Friday than they were Monday. It felt like this Raw was an unnecessary stretch when it came to those feuds. SmackDown was more interesting. And frankly, dude, Paul Levesque again showed that he has a lot to learn when it comes to building go-home episodes. I hate to use this phraseology, but it's like they shot their load on Friday and were too exhausted to give you the rest on Monday. Raw was weird, man.
Raw wasn't a wrestling show. It was an entrance show.
Yeah.
We got legitimately like 30, 40 entrances. Like half the WarGames people did their entrances twice. It was nuts.
They did them twice.
It was like truly, at least in terms of the music hitting and different people.
Okay.
It like we did the whole thing at the beginning. It was legitimately like 15, 20 minutes into the show before anything happened.
Right.
Crazy.
Yeah, and even in that opening segment, not much happened. And again,
I'm like, am I losing my mind here? We're just doing entrance after entrance.
Entrance, stand around.
For the men and the women.
Yeah.
And
do you agree with my contention, though, that SmackDown was better? Apples to apples?
It was, because Raw was barely a show.
Yeah.
Bizarre.
Yeah. And the Oklahoma City crowd. I don't have a problem generally with Oklahoma City or Oklahoma, but man, did they not deliver on Monday night.
Well, here's the other thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
You have Roman, Punk, Cody, all of them do the, hey, local crowd, I see the same thing. Like, we're just repeating ourselves. This is what I'm talking about. The whole thing was just like, what are we doing? Like,
it was literally, OKC, acknowledge me. Oklahoma City, what do you want to talk about? And then Punk, I forgot what Punk did, but Punk came out and said something like, OKC, it's a great night to be alive in Oklahoma City or something. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, can we get on to like the content of the show?
Yeah, and look, go home shows have typically been a struggle since Triple H took over.
Yeah.
But it did feel like they very much made Raw the WarGames go home show. We're going to have most of this show be about these two teams and doing stuff. So like they did attempt that.
And part of that, let's also be clear too. Part of that is because SmackDown on Friday, it's taped, right? Because it's Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. So it's a taped show. They could only do so much on it not to create storylines or anything that gets spoiled for Survivor Series WarGames. So they basically had to just do a regular wrestling show for the most part on Friday. And neither Silver King nor Vintage, just so everyone knows on this program, we have not seen spoilers for SmackDown next week. So we're operating this show just like you, coming in with our opinions based on what we saw on WWE television from last week's SmackDown and this week's Raw, as we always do. But that is a unique situation where you can't have a true go home on the SmackDown 24 hours before you actually have your premium live event. So it was understandable that they built Raw in that manner. The problem is that SmackDown on Friday was a better go-home show than Raw. So again, WWE and Paul Levesque, they just got to figure this out. No one's saying their booking is perfect otherwise, but this has been a continued issue. WWE, they did 2 teasers for another WrestleMania 42 commercial that this time will feature the women. So at least they're doing that. Unfortunately, I believe both of them featured women putting on like makeup and accessories. I think one was lip gloss, the other was nail polish. So the men get to go play poker. The women have to get glammed up. Now, if this works in concert with like a Maybelline sponsorship, because that has existed on NXT to this point, but that would make sense here. I didn't see any brand logos. Either way, at least they're doing a women's version of the commercial. That's something that we criticized previously, want to be completely fair. It's not just the men, but all of these like teases just to give you a commercial are pretty freaking lackluster.
Yeah, I don't care. I gloss over them every time. Like there's nothing to sell me on because you've already done Vegas. It's like it's not a new thing. As much as they can try to like sell you on it, there's nothing about doing Vegas again that is going to, at least that aspect of it, is going to make me interested at all. It's WrestleMania. Yeah. I'm interested. Like that's fine, but the Vegas angle is like, we just did this.
Right. Like doing Las Vegas last year was already like relatively ho-hum, but at least they hadn't been there, right? Now they're repeating it, and then next year it's going to be a WrestleMania. They're really going to struggle to sell people on like the excitement of WrestleMania when you're not going to new locations or locations people can actually visit. And I don't know, man. I think WWE, we're not doom and gloom here on the show. For anyone who is not a long-term listener, might be tuning in for the first time. We're not doom and gloom WWE here. We're extremely fair in our praise and criticism of the company, but it does feel like they're setting themselves up for a disaster when it comes to WrestleMania.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of publicity, yes.
Publicity, attendance. You're running the same venue and same location back-to-back years, then you're doing one where people can't go. The attendance there, they'll sell it out because they sell the tickets automatically, basically.
Yeah.
But you're not going to get the same press that you were going to. You're not able to kind of do the car wash stuff that you did previously, all, in the city, all the other events. It's going to be real different next year for a WrestleMania, and even this year for Las Vegas. It's going to be real curious to see how many places decide to send media there again when they just did it a year ago. So we'll find out. Now, look, before we get out of this not actual news segment, let's talk Becky Lynch and what she's been up to lately. Now, we all know that she's been leaning this character in the direction of 45 and 47 with the way she's been speaking and tweeting for months now. I'm the greatest. It's not just me saying that. Everyone says it. The Getting Over Wrestling podcast says it, stuff like that. But after losing the Intercontinental Championship to Maxine Dupree, she's gone from like 65% to 95%, all in with the parody. And Chris, she is straight up knocking it out of the park to the point I believe Becky Lynch may be making a late run here for Women's Wrestler of the Year in the 2025 Getting Over Awards, a.k.a.
the Meaties.
Normally, I would read off the tweets and posts, but it has been a nonstop barrage for 8 days. And it would take me like 25 minutes to read them all. Even going to those lengths, flooding the zone, it's kind of working the parody to perfection. So you can just check them out yourself at Becky Lynch WWE on Twitter. You can find her Instagram as well. It's great social media work. It translated decently well, not as effectively to Raw on Monday night. It played heavy for me. The pretty terrible Oklahoma City crowd seemed a little lost. But despite my appreciation for Becky and the character work she's been doing here, because this has been a topic of conversation, this Intercontinental title over the last month on this podcast, I still, Chris, disagree with the decision to flip the title. We'll have to see where this goes coming out of Survivor Series, whether Lynch wins it back soon. But her going off the rails on this character is not worth taking the Intercontinental Championship down a peg by putting it on Maxine Dupri.
Well, no. So, I mean, the one still selling the story of the Intercontinental title is Becky, not Maxine. I will say one of the posts that Becky made where she calls a phone number that was supposed to be Adam Pearce, but it was a Rick roll. That was a 248 number, which is my area code. So shout out to suburban Detroit, Oakland County. I don't know where that number came from.
You're saying your area code. You live outside Dallas now. Where your area code, I assume going up, that's still on your phone, is what you're saying.
Yes, I still have a 248.
248, not 313, which is the only Detroit area code that I know.
That is actual Detroit.
Right. So yours is what, suburb?
Yes, suburbs of Detroit.
All right, fair enough. Well, look, folks, there's a lot of numbers that we just threw around there. What was it, 248, 313? The number that you need to remember when it comes to the Getting Over Wrestling podcast.
I happen to love the number 5.
And I hope you do as well, because for $5 a month, $50 for the entire year, you can become an official Getting Overhead. Just visit buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. Sign up. You'll get bonus audio, the fastest 5 minutes in professional wrestling, instant reactions to every major show, and exclusive news analysis posts as well. Support this show. We're a single sponsor enterprise, free show, ad-free show otherwise. Buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. And guess what? It just so happens to be Black Friday week. And guess what the Silver King does? Every Black Friday, we put it on sale. So Thursday, Friday, through the weekend and Cyber Monday, buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. Support us and get a little discount as well. Chris, with that all said, let's kind of move into our full breakdown of WWE this week, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and the Survivor Series
WarGames
Ultimate Preview. They're both coming up, but we got to kick it off, as we always do, by sliding into the main event.
This is the main event.
And because all of the WarGames built is saved for the Ultimate Preview later in the show, really what we're going to talk about here is the Last Time Is Now tournament, determining John Cena's final opponent, Saturday night's main event on December 13th. 4 matches to discuss and a bracket reveal as well to go over. Carmelo Hayes against Bronson Reed, SmackDown round 1 of the tournament. Melo was dominant in the early going until the Vision joined ringside, distracting him. Hayes avoided a senton, nearly completed a crucifix cover, leading to a run of his signatures, including a draping reverse springboard leg drop, ring apron DDT, and a frog splash. Crowd got fully behind him with audible "Let's Go Melo" chants. Reed prevented first 48 with World's Strongest Slam. He hit a senton. However, Hayes avoided Tsunami and hit first 48 with Bronson spilling outside. He landed a huge tope con hero into all 3 heels, muscled Reed back into the ring, hit a perfect flying DDT for a false finish. When he tried nothing but net, Reed turned him inside out with a lariat. Braun Breaker tried to hit a runaround spear with the referee distracted. However, the Usos surprised they took out the heels. Melo got bounced from the ring apron into the announce table, but when Bronson went for something into the table, Cody Rhodes appeared out of the crowd, ran him into the post, hit Crossroads ringside, threw Melo onto the canvas and out of dodge for the countout victory. This made sense based on the WarGames storyline that opened the show, which we'll discuss, of course, in the Ultimate Preview. Super successful booking here. Not only did Melo get loudly cheered on his own, he went toe-to-toe with a dude who just beat Roman Reigns, and he may well have won the match had it ended in a clean fashion. The fans believed in Melo. That's so tough to accomplish, especially considering how he's been booked much of the last year, but it was achieved right here. Having Cody get his back was really a cherry on top. Would it have been preferred for Reed to roll into the ring and then crouch over and Melo to hit nothing but net and get the 1, 2, 3? Of course, that would have been better. That's how it should have been booked. Losing this would have been easily forgotten for Bronson, but that's legitimately my only note here. That, and I guess this being the first tournament match that was not squeaky clean. Oh, and Corey Graves doing the 6-7 during the count, which he did. But it was important for Melo, a young dude, to actually move into the quarterfinals and get this win. Good business done here. 3.75 stars, B+.
It was good. I didn't love it being a count out. Like, I know you can win wrestling matches like that, but I would have loved for Melo to get the pin. This is a big win for him. Bronson is a very established person who beat Roman Reigns. And if that's the reason you don't want him to get pinned, maybe don't set yourself up in this situation then. I overall, though, it was entertaining. Crowd was into it. tying it into the War Games was nice and all. I just would have loved, as someone who's like not fully bought in on Melo, it felt like he was kind of secondary to his own win. And I don't love that. But overall, I still liked it.
I would agree with that if the match got a lot of time. And he was heavily featured on that show. He also got the rub from Cody and the Usos, them helping him. And a lot of them put him over on social media as well. I agree with what you're saying, though. Like, if they had, when Reed rolled back into the win, he had already taken a crossroads ringside, got run into the post. So he's damaged. If he then took nothing but net and then just got pinned, no one's looking at that as, wow, Bronson Reed is pathetic that he lost to Melo. This guy beat Roman Reigns and now he's done. No one looks at it that way. WWE is way too safe. They don't allow people to just get beat. You can still remain strong and lose a match. Look at Gunther and the matches he's lost recently. Look at Roman Reigns. I think he's lost more than he's won this year. And he's still the strongest, most over guy in the entire company. You roll Bronson in the ring. You do the nothing but net. Melo gets the 1, 2, 3. The crowd pops even huger for him. And then you have this guy celebrating, and he's able to say, I pinned Bronson Reed. And if 4 months from now, you need Reed to get the win back on Melo, okay, fine. Like, you go ahead and do that. But it was way too safe, and a count out was fine. But as we both said, a pinfall would have been better. We had Penta against Finn Balor, SmackDown, round 1 of the tournament. Penta was on fire at the bell until Balor countered a Mexican Destroyer into a backdrop during the break. He also mocked his dance. Penta later hit a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker and his brother's Mexican muscle buster. He also landed the sacrifice, but Balor rolled through Penta Driver, hitting a sling blade and shotgun dropkick, only to miss coup de grace. Penta caught him with La Magistral. Perfect Penta Driver for a false finish. Michael Cole had no idea what Penta's moves were called, even though he's been on commentary for the vast majority of his career, just as in WWE, of course. Just as it seemed like they were entering the next stage of the match, Penta ran at Balor for a Mexican Destroyer and got the win. There were some extremely strong sequences here. This just did not come close to living up to my expectations. Balor, he's just coming across right now like a completely dead-in-the-water character. It seemed a couple months ago he started getting wins, and I'm like, wow, they're really going to push this guy. Maybe, okay, not to the world title, but he's a potential mid-card title winner again. And they've just completely gone away from it. Penta was the right winner, don't get me wrong, but like I said, the match left a lot to be desired.
Yeah, it was fine, but in these moments in this tournament, some of the matchups you're hoping like, man, they really let him go, really let him wrestle. It becomes a tournament we remember, a tournament we talk about, a tournament that we'll say we want to happen all the time. Like we talked about, maybe you do this every year, the John Cena Memorial Tournament, even though he's not dead. And
John Cena Invitational, you can call it, but yeah.
I like calling it the Memorial. And yeah, just, it was okay. Penta winning made sense. He's on the rise. He's got crowds behind him. Finn has been dead in the water, like you said. So ultimately the right result, but would have liked more. It's, it's also remembering, Finn is up there a lot more in age than we think because of how ridiculously in shape he is.
Yeah,
but
it's true.
It's not, with him, with AJ, with Nakamura, it's not the them of 10 to 15 years ago. So maybe we shouldn't have but you just think about it. You think he's one of the best wrestlers of his generation.
But he can go. I don't want to use this phrase saying he's phoning it in, because he's not. He's working hard. No. And in tag team matches, you really see him shine. There's no question. It does feel like when he gets into singles matches, though, he's kind of just going through the motions in terms of he does his moves and his signatures and he gets out of there and there's really nothing unique happening. Penta in this match, I mean, you don't see him do La Magistral every match. You never see him do the Mexican Muscle Buster. That's Phoenix's move. He was doing some different stuff, and Balor was just kind of doing his thing. And when you have these two guys, and it's a match that you've badly wanted to see, you expect the creativity from both of them, not just one side. And that's why I was so disappointed in it. WWE, at the end of SmackDown, finally released the bracket for the remainder of the tournament after round 1 was completed. We posted it on social media at Getting Overcast. So if you want to look along as we're talking, you can certainly do that. The matchups are Jey Uso against Rusev, Penta against Solo Sikoa, Gunther against Carmelo Hayes, and LA Knight against another mystery opponent because Sheamus was pulled from the tournament due to a shoulder injury. It was said that the general managers would determine a replacement. 5 of the 7 dudes who advanced here were from Raw. but 2 of the 3 youngest moved on in Sikoa and Hayes. So that's obviously a massive positive to what we were talking about coming out of the 16 men filling the field that I think the average age I said was 39 or 40. Interesting that Gunther started with Javon Evans, the youngest. Then he had Mello scheduled, the second youngest, and he could wind up getting Solo as well, the third youngest. So he theoretically could take the easiest, least experienced path to the final by defeating the 3 youngest people in the entire tournament. You also have Knight, who got the short end of the stick with a mystery opponent in round 1. We're talking about in, kayfabe. Now he gets the short end of the stick again with a potential mystery in round 2, and that person might even get a bye. That's not ideal. He should be really angry about that. There's also possible setups, Chris, for Jay and Knight and Jay and Gunther rematches, neither of which would be great because we've seen them so many times. So there's potential here. I would not say that the way this bracket was formatted is the best case scenario.
No, and there's some more to get into, but the tournament has been very janky, and it really there have been some bright moments, but it hasn't felt connected. And I think that's because did Sheamus get hurt in the tag match with John Cena?
No, he was hurt going into it, and he was I don't want to say selling. He was favoring his shoulder during that match, so he was already hurt.
Okay,
yeah.
So he got hurt. So he may have gotten hurt in the match then that he won,
possibly.
And yeah, so at least we have a bracket now, so we can look at it after a full round. We got some more matches to talk to, but interesting start.
They probably should have done them as play-in matches for a randomized field.
That's a good way to put it.
And I think that would have made a lot more sense.
If you didn't know what the bracket was at the beginning, you shouldn't have phrased it like that. Basically.
Exactly. Yeah.
And,
you don't call it a tournament. I mean, there are play-in matches in a tournament, but even like the NCAA tournament, March Madness, you see them. Like you see them on the bracket where they go. In this case, they were saying we randomize 16 people, and then we're going to randomize the second round matchups as well, and that's going to be the tournament from there. Yeah. This is a little confusing. So we move then to Raw, where we had Mello against Gunther, despite Mello just wrestling on SmackDown. And the other match on the show, by the way, was Penta against Solo Sikoa, and Penta had just wrestled on SmackDown. So all these dudes who wrestled 2 weeks ago and should have been wrestling this week didn't. Instead, they went with people who had to do the back and forth from Friday to Monday, which in terms of fairness, if we're talking about reality, it wasn't really that fair for these guys. Anyway, we had Mello against Gunther quarterfinal. Gunther's gear and music held from last week, so it looks like this is indeed the new presentation they're sticking with. Mello,
I love it.
It's great. Mello hit the springboard reverse DDT, only to get the soul chopped out of his body, a small package, flip over cover also out of a sleeper. They failed for Mello. Gunther talked shit about him into the camera, saying Hayes hasn't beaten anyone, which pretty fair. Mello chopped, so Gunther decapitated him with a European uppercut, landed a double underhook suplex. Another Mello springboard took an anti-air boot. He countered with a powerbomb perfectly into a DDT. Then Mello countered a double choke lift into first 48, only for Gunther to prevent nothing but net with a chop on the ropes. Gunther tried to chop on the ring apron, but Mello moved and he instead nailed the ring post before the guys botched a jump over DDT on the apron. Good job by Wade Barrett being honest on the call. He's like, that didn't land, but Gunther hurt his knee anyway. Perfect. Mello then improvised with a tope cannonball. Then he back body dropped Gunther into the timekeeper's area. Gunther dragged Mello back over the barricade with him, only for Mello to jump off of the barricade for a tornado DDT ringside. Both beat an incredibly slow count from that crooked-ass referee Jessica Carr. She fast counts Becky Lynch, then she slow counts for Gunther so he can get back in the ring. What the hell are we doing here, Jess? Anyway, he gets back in the ring, barely dodges nothing but net, hits a massive lariat with a spinning cell for Mello, follows it with a powerbomb, and I'm like, oh, the match is over. False finish. Hammer elbows and a sleeper followed. Hayes got to his feet and broke it, so Gunther hit one more powerbomb with a fold-over cover for the 1-2-3. You will hear this phrase thrown around in wrestling. Wrestler A made wrestler B. In other words, one competitor went out of his way to legitimize another. Gunther made Carmelo Hayes on Monday night. The crowd actually responded better to Melo on SmackDown against Reed, but that was because A, the opponent was more hated, and B, that crowd was better than Oklahoma City on Monday night. What Gunther accomplished during this match was proving Melo belongs in the spot and deserves a legitimate push from WWE. This was an absolute
Banger.
only softened by the crowd. Not flawless, among the best bouts Melo's had in his career, and precisely the type of Gunther finish that you and I, Chris, always prefer. Beating a person into, I'm saying submission, but I mean beating a person into a loss. It doesn't matter what move comes last. It could be a lariat, a powerbomb, a chop. It's so much better than the sleeper hold. It would have been awesome for Melo to win, sure, but everyone knew it was going to be Gunther, and he had to work hard against Melo to advance. 4.25 stars and an A.
This was awesome. I am more interested in Gunther right now than I have been in years because of the entrance, because of the power bomb in the pin. Like, part of the way that makes his win so emphatic is the way he pins you. Like, it's not like it just laying on you like normal. It's such a like, I'm going to keep you down, and so you feel like they cannot kick out of that. So when somebody does, it's really impressive. He looks awesome. Melo looked better in this loss than he did in the win against Bronson because of, even though he legit got pinned here, like the finish of it all made him look like he fought to the end type of thing.
It was a hero. He was a hero, an underdog hero in the match. Yeah.
As opposed to, getting all that help to beat Bronson in a weird way before. So ultimately, 2 really good matches for Melo. Good spotlight for him. Gunther wins, and I'm all in on Gunther right now. I love it.
As someone who did not watch NXT regularly and has not, admittedly, been all in on Melo, how do you feel about him as an observer after these matches and after the last, let's say, 3 weeks of them pushing him as a babyface?
I feel like he's somebody I need to start paying attention to more. He was just, for so long, you just knew what they were having him do wasn't important. And putting him on these 2 stages and having him compete with those 2 guys, he's now someone I should take seriously in what he does the next few times I see him. Now you got to capitalize on that. Get some wins coming out of this to start, because you've got some momentum right now. So keep with it.
Yeah, I think the booking, there's a lot of people who can take the title off of Ilya Dragunov. I think the booking is probably you finish the Miz feud. You have Melo beat Miz. That gives him confidence. He does an open challenge for that title. And Dragunov, he's been running himself ragged. He puts over Melo. And then he's the United States champion. And since he's a babyface, he's able to continue the open challenge and loses to a heel, and then it probably disappears from there.
Could be.
We had Penta against Sikoa, the other quarterfinal match on Raw. Tala Tonga was out with Solo. With that setup, I thought, man, this is the perfect opportunity to unite the Lucha Brothers on WWE TV because Rey Fenix is feuding with MFT on SmackDown. Penta did a Hurricanrana off the barricade ringside, didn't fully rotate on the landing. He came down hard on his shoulder, immediately grabbed himself in pain. It looked like a dislocated shoulder or a broken collarbone. You and I have seen those, Chris, in football time and again. And this just, it looked exactly like those. The match got called off. Sikoa was declared the winner. Penta slammed his hand into the barricade while walking off. Damn, absolutely rolling in his first year with WWE. Legitimate chance for a dream match with Gunther. And now probably out months, if not most of the next year. Unfortunate all the way around. Gunther will go through a heel and again have the 3 youngest guys in the entire tournament ahead of him to reach the final. If I had the book, I'd have nullified the match and run an extra tournament match on Raw next week. The shows can go as long as WWE wants. Do a 2-hour, 45-minute edition of Raw, put 3 quarterfinals on it instead of 2. Solo advancing. I understand you have to make a spur-of-the-moment decision and you're live. I get it. It's really difficult. Solo advancing in a tournament to fight John Cena in his final match should not happen because the dude gets injured 2 minutes into a match. I'm not trying to criticize the decision. I'm just saying what I would have done. This sucks.
Yeah, we've now had 2 people injured in this tournament. it goes back to what I was saying about it being a bit janky and not having a clear, even from the beginning when it was announced via a John Cena voiceover and not him in the ring at one. Imagine if he had announced the tournament during one of his appearances in the ring, like we're gonna do a tournament or something. It all felt very like not fully formed when they started it. Now you're adding injuries on top of that. It's tough. We have a mystery opponent for LA Knight. I don't know. And like, do we think Solo or Penta was supposed to win? I feel like Penta was probably going to win, right? To face Gunther.
It's interesting because earlier on this show and going into Raw, I was like, well, clearly Solo's going to win. And then the match started. And I'm looking at them and I'm like, why the hell did I think Solo was going to win? Like, I couldn't rationalize that thought in my head. And I guess it's because he's a leader of a faction and because they had the Survivor Series match scheduled, and Penta, he can lose and it just doesn't seem to matter. So I think that was my reasoning going in, where I expected Sikoa to win. But then when the bell rang, I said, oh my God, wait, Penta can win this. And we can get Penta Gunther in a semifinal. That's a huge match. And that is what this tournament should be about, matches like that. And then you would have Gunther against Javon Evans, Carmelo Hayes, and Penta. That's a really exciting triumvirate of opponents to get to that final match. And then Penta got hurt.
So,
making matters worse here, by the way, Penta and Phoenix actually reunited on the AAA show that we're going to discuss on Thursday's episode of Getting Over. They challenged Dominic Mysterio and El Grande Americano to a tag team match. Literal days later, Penta's injured. These guys, these brothers, have the absolute worst luck and career timing. It has been since the start of their run in AEW. They're doing something together. One of them gets hurt. One of them's getting a push for a title, gets hurt. It's every single time they get a push or there's a really good storyline going in their direction, something happens. It'd be comical if it wasn't so sad.
Yep, agree. And so like the idea of going with the Lucha Brothers now, we're still going to be many, many months away from that happening.
Yeah, and if that's going to be the case, then, man, they need to really go behind Phoenix and give him whatever push they were going to give Penta as a single.
Or any push. I keep forgetting he's on the roster.
I mean, the dude lost to Talatanga 2 weeks ago. Remember, I went nuts when I saw that. It was absolutely ridiculous. So, let's hope there's at least a silver lining here of Phoenix getting featured more if Penta is out for an extended period. And by the way, I'm speculating. It's possible that it's a minor shoulder dislocation and he's back in 6 weeks or 2 months. It's very possible. It's not impossible. But you and I, Chris, we've covered football for a long time. We've seen landings like this, and this is usually with dudes in pads, and it's almost always a labrum tear with a shoulder separation or a broken collarbone. That's just what we always see. Also, speaking of things I'm seeing, Chris, I'm coming across this sentiment now that a subsection of fans don't want to see any of the 6 finalists fight Cena in his final match. I feel like it's a lame take. Gunther, LA Knight, previously Sheamus, if he was still in it, all would have worked for me. Now we're down to 2, and Gunther to me is the exact type of big bad who makes sense even if he's not a young guy being put over. Cena will have a chance to either go out a hero or get conquered by someone who can then use that. So I understand that this tournament is not ideal. You and I have spent time on this podcast discussing people who should have been in it, matches we would have loved to see. But to suggest that none of the people remaining in the tournament deserve or would be exciting final opponents for Cena, I just think that's lame.
Not none of them, but I did look at the bracket and I was like, ugh. Like it's not great. There's not we never had a through line of like, is it going to be superstar, like real superstars and new faces? Like instead we got a lot of middling people who we knew had no chance in the first round. And then you have some injuries on top of that where Sheamus is out and now Penta is out. And suddenly you're like, Gunther's like, I mean, I would personally love LA Knight to be the guy. So I guess I count as him. And then Gunther, yes. I mean, Gunther, I think, has to be considered the overwhelming favorite at this point. I think those two would be fine. The rest of it, I'm like, it doesn't, because I don't really know what we're going for with this last match. It's like, are they trying to win the honor of getting John Cena's last match, or are we like trying to get a new face of the company.
I think it's the honor of getting the match and the prestige of beating him and sending him into retirement. Because these guys,
like
especially the heels have all mocked Cena at the end of when they've won. They've done "You Can't See Me," or they've said something like that. In fact, completely unplanned. This literally just came out while we're taping the show. WWE just posted this message from Gunther to John Cena. I don't even know what he says, but hold on a second. Oh, okay. He didn't say anything. He literally did "You Can't See Me" into the camera, laughed, and walked off. So, okay, that wasn't great audio. But so they're mocking him, and they're trying to be that person who ultimately takes him down and ends his career. And I do believe there's something to that. They just haven't made it as much of the tournament. There should be promos to that end. They should, like The Miz. Yes. The Miz cut that promo, and you're like, hell yeah, that's what this should be about. And then he lost.
And also, having Cena react to it as it goes on. Like, he's mentioned it, but he's kind of doing the Dominic thing. I would love for him, as the tournament is going on, to maybe he hasn't, I haven't seen it, but tweet congratulations.
No,
people or just provide his commentary to it. He's in the background of the tournament that's about him.
That's exactly what it's been. And we've discussed this multiple times on the show. Their unwillingness or inability from a creative standpoint, when they have Cena on location to tape things ahead of time for shows he's not going to be on.
Yep.
It doesn't make any sense. They did it for NXT. They were in Madison Square Garden last week. Cena's going to be on NXT this coming Tuesday to announce the participants for the Iron Survivor Challenge matches. They pre-taped it. That's great. They should have been doing that all year. And especially now that it's all coming to an end, I just don't understand why they're not. Chris, that was the main event, the latest, of course, on John Cena and the Last Time Is Now tournament. We have a ton of show that remains even before we get to the WWE Survivor Series
WarGames
Ultimate Preview. And next up on the card is a breakdown of everything else that happened across Raw and SmackDown in the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Hey, yo. Survey says one more for the good guy.
Say hello to the back.
Don't sing it. Bring it.
U.S. Open Challenge, Ilya Dragunov defending against J.D. McDonough. Kudos to Michael Cole recalling their NXT history at the bell. These guys were working their asses off during the break, with Ilya landing Constantine special after commercial. Dragunov brutalized McDonough with a pair of exceptional textbook German suplexes, hammer elbows, his tilt-a-whirl slam. His nose got busted open too. JD then countered Constantine special straight into a standing Spanish fly. They did the vertical suplex over the rope spot into the second break. McDonough took a superplex, but held on to Dragunov's head with both hands, executing a brainbuster once both of them got to their feet. The crowd went ballistic for a brainbuster, but I guess WWE doesn't use them that much. Ilya answered with a pump knee and what I'm going to call a spike spinebuster, but JD countered Torpedo Moscow with a claymore, hit a 10 out of 10 moonsault for a false finish. McDonough then stopped a powerbomb with a headbutt, immediately eating Torpedo Moscow and the H-bomb as Dragunov retained the title. Everything about this worked. We got back to the point of the Open Challenge that we hoped to see last week, the surprise element. Cole even explained that JD was only backstage able to challenge because he was in Balor's corner for his tournament match. It was one thing when WWE did this with Sami Zayn as champion, but trusting Dragunov to be the first match on every show against perhaps not the strongest competition from a name value standpoint, it really is showing a lot of trust in him and an acknowledgement of his ability. These guys put on a classic NXT UK match on WWE main roster television. Beyond the match itself being great, this was good. 4.25 stars and an A.
Definitely good. Awesome stuff. He is being tasked, and it was Sami Zayn before that too, but it's whoever has the US championship is kind of being tasked with giving you the best match of the weekend in WWE. That's kind of what they want you to do, and they're doing it. It's really good stuff.
Tama Tonga stalked Dragunov later backstage, basically saying he's coming for him. Tommaso Ciampa then confronted, saying he would have taken the title already if DIY wasn't dealing with Fraxium. Fair enough. Light bonus good as it all kind of worked, but how much longer are they going to stalk until those two guys are going to actually get their title matches? Rey Mysterio fought McDonough over on Raw. This was a late announce, which made sense to a degree, sure. I'll again point out that Judgment Day hasn't been getting Dominic's back ringside in months. So why fight a battle for him on this show? Balor was there also. Rey was running for a 619, only for JD to quickly emerge back, standing for a tight and somewhat scary Spanish fly. Rey answered with a code red. Balor tripped him on a second 619 attempt. Mysterio then tripped a running McDonough into Balor, hitting 619 and his springboard splash to win. No shade on a 50-year-old Rey Mysterio. He's still great, and he's better than most in the ring. This did pale in comparison to the Dragunov match. There was a funny bit after the bell with Rey avoiding and attacking Finn. It was kind of unnecessary, but it was entertaining. Good because it all worked. It had no real relevance on the show. It kind of just happened. I don't have that much else to say, but I just think if Rey Mysterio is going to wrestle a match on television, it should matter.
What do you mean matter?
There should be a reason for it. The guy doesn't need to be wrestling weekly for no reason. You don't see Randy Orton on TV just to do a match. There's reason now when he wrestles.
What I gathered the point of this was to continue to have JD McDonough in interesting single spots. He's been getting some shine for the last month, really. Even though he lost here, they're giving away a lot of JD McDonough on his own, and I think that's what I gathered the point of this was. So I thought it was good. It wasn't as good as the Dragunov match, obviously, but it was interesting. It was solid, very good.
It was that, and also to keep the Rey Dom stuff alive without involving Dom, because this began after a segment in which Rey intercepted something that was happening with Dom that we'll talk about later. But he wasn't ringside for it, and he didn't cut a promo on him or anything like that. So, it was just kind of frustrating. Now, look, you only saw, and this was crazy to me, right? The first 8 minutes of this match you only got to see 2 of them because there were a pair of 4-minute commercial breaks. And that's why I no longer watch Raw on Netflix in the United States. I use the international feed, and I no longer watch SmackDown on USA Network. I watch it on Netflix because whether it's Raw, SmackDown, NXT, premium live events, even Saturday night's main event, these days I'm all in with NordVPN. It's easy to set up. It's a drastically better viewing experience with high quality streams, commercial free shows. All you have to do is sign up at nordvpn.com/gettingover, open the app, quick connect to another country like Canada, open Netflix and watch the show. It's going to be crucial for Survivor Series WarGames this weekend, especially for those of you who have Comcast or YouTube TV or another cable operator that doesn't have free access to ESPN Unlimited. NordVPN also allows you to get around online censorship or surveillance, protect your private data when web browsing, and avoid online threats. Plus, one NordVPN account can be used on 10 devices. Get the best discount from NordVPN. Go to nordvpn.com/gettingover. Our link will give you 4 extra free months off the 2-year plan, and there's no risk because there's a 30-day money-back guarantee from Nord. So improve your WWE viewing, save some money, browse safer online, and get the best discount for the best VPN at nordvpn.com/gettingover. Sami Zayn did everything he possibly could backstage to cut an enthusiastic, angry promo about his Survivor Series team. He tossed it to Motor City Machine Guns, who did not really match his energy. Shinsuke Nakamura did, though, in Japanese. Zayn then big upped Rey Fenix as one of the best modern Mexican luchadors, and he cut a promo in Spanish. There was also a graphic for this match using the traditional 1980s Survivor Series logo and colors. That was a great touch. Solo Sikoa later cut a passionate promo with Tonga Loa hysterically co-signing everything that he said, like the hype man for a rapper. Solo specifically threatened Sami at the end of it. Frankly, looking at the sides in this match, talent for talent, MFT should lose with 3 babyface survivors. I'm glad the match is happening at the end of the day. Effort was appreciated from both of these segments. I actually like the hype man role for Tonga Loa. It differentiates him. This was good.
Yeah, I liked it. It works. This feels like a more natural build to a Survivor Series match than we're getting with WarGames, which is kind of a bit ham-fisted and doing it after the fact. They laid the ground for this to happen, and this feels like Survivor Series, and I'm glad they're doing it. And we'll talk about the WarGames match when we get to the Ultimate Preview. But I'm into it. This feels like what this is supposed to be. I'm into it.
Yeah, they built it over a month. I mean, they really spent time doing this, and most of it wasn't great necessarily, but the end result is a legitimate Survivor Series match. What's really interesting is they actually built a 3-way Survivor Series match. They built it with this babyface team, MFT, and the Wyatt Six, except the Wyatt Six have just completely disappeared ever since this started. So it's kind of odd. Raquel Rodriguez and New Day in succession approached Adam Pearce demanding title opportunities. Pearce told Rodriguez she'd be in the mix after Survivor Series because Nikki Bella got involved in her match. Then he granted New Day their match because AJ Styles and Dragon Lee are fighting champions, and they said last week that they would do it. Grayson Waller put a blonde wig on his head, and that was pretty much it. The tag team division was absent from the remainder of the show. Nothing horrible by any means. I'm giving this a bad because New Day, they've been doing excellent, entertaining work on social media alongside Becky Lynch, and none of it carried over to TV. This is another miss from WWE Creative to not see that something is working online and utilize it on your program. But beyond that, New Day has done nothing to deserve the title match. I understand babyface champions, they just gave them the opportunity. Fine. That's frustrating. I did appreciate, though, the acknowledgement that like Raquel kind of got screwed and Nikki just got a title match. That's stupid. What they didn't touch on, though, was that Roxanne Perez deserves a title match because she beat Nikki twice. And I want to say she's also the last person to pin Io Sky, and she never got her opportunity. So I was okay with Raquel being here. I thought Roxanne should have been as well. So for all those reasons, I have to give this a bad.
Yes, I give that a bad as well. And the Roxanne stuff comes up later, but like Roxanne can slide into that spot. This is clearly like just a very quick one-off thing we're doing for the show. So I'm not going to like get too hung up on it because I feel like we're going to move past it pretty quickly probably. But no, that's fair. I would give that a bad too.
Maxine Dupree backstage told Pierce she wants to be the type of champion who people can respect. And then I got a little confused at what she meant, but she said then she's going to call Natalya. Ivy Nile randomly showed up for the first time in 6 months, got right in her face. She debuted an entirely new look. She was not with American Made. She said the title was hers. Roxanne then confronted Dupree in a similar fashion. So now, after all this time vying for the title, WWE's reintroducing the Maxine Natalya connection. She wasn't part of this. This segment, it showed how far this title has already fallen, taking it off Becky. But to be fair, it was more interesting than basically anything they've done with the Women's United States Championship over on SmackDown. So for that reason alone, I'm giving it a provisional good.
I'm going to give it a bad because it was like too on the nose. Like you have them saying, all right, Maxine, a lot of people are going to want to come for your title. And then 2 seconds later, people are like, I'm coming for your title. Like,
fair.
Okay. We didn't need to do both of those.
Yeah.
That would just kind of annoyed me. It felt very, I don't know, just.
You know what? What's really funny too? Because Pierce came back at the end of the segment and kind of saved Maxine.
Yeah.
So the first part wasn't necessary. It should have been Maxine walking, all the women threatening her, and then Pierce coming in at the end. They Oreo sandwiched it really for no reason whatsoever.
Yes. So I'm going to give it it was a very weak follow-up to what should have been a big moment, to the point I said, which is like what Becky's reaction to it is a bigger storyline than Maxine winning it.
Yeah. No.
And to not have, to not put her in front of the crowd to react to you deserve it, this and that, just kind of weird.
No, you're right. Sorry for stepping on you there. Why wasn't there like an in-ring celebration? I know it's Maxine but she got this huge babyface pop in Madison Square Garden. You could have done this backstage segment in the ring. Maxine's there. She's celebrating. The crowd is cheering and chanting for her. I'm going to be a fighting champion. Adam Pearce congratulates her, and the women come out. And it doesn't have to be long, but those other women come out. You give them a 5-minute segment. They go into the back. And that's it. It was just super, super frustrating that it wasn't more. Chelsea Green backstage on SmackDown hid from Julia and Kiana James with Alba Fire handling security at the door. Chelsea then had second thoughts about doing her celebration, which was scheduled for the show, saying she wasn't feeling the vibes, so she told Alba to reschedule it. Jade Cargill then got in her face, angry over the contention that she's the greatest champion, leading Green to run away. The women's mid-card on SmackDown, dude, it is just dead. D-E-D, dead. It's the same people every week when we actually see them. And 9 out of 10 times when we see them, it's a 90-second backstage segment just to tell us that they haven't disappeared off the face of the earth. This felt like it was a repeat of what we got, I want to say, last week or 2 weeks ago. This should not be so hard. Bad.
it was bad. And like we just said, why don't they do a in-ring celebration for Maxine? They were going to do it with Chelsea and then just didn't. And whatever they did in the ring, Chelsea would have, she would have.
Of course, it would have been great. Yeah.
Something would have happened to her and she would have made it great. And like you would have had something. Instead, we're not going to do another celebration. And we're just going to do a weird backstage thing again for the same reason as Maxine. It's bad.
Yep. Fraxium fought DIY, Ciampa, and Johnny Gargano entered to their separate music, which is better than their combined theme. I just want to clarify how it's massively confusing because they're a full-fledged team on the roster. They have their own music. So now that you've established that, why are you going back to their singular music? It's better, yes, but that doesn't make sense. Also, they're heels. The last theme that played was Rebel Heart, which is a babyface track. If you're going to make this choice and you want them to use their signature themes, you play that first, then you play No One Will Survive last. That's a heel theme. They're heels, and they come out to the ring. I could not make any sense of this. Who is making these decisions? How are they not thinking stuff like this through? Why is it so obvious to me as it happens live, yet not them with time to plan for this? Chris, I couldn't make sense of this with the themes.
They're a tag team with a tag team theme. That's what you play. 2 separate entrances. I don't care what order you play them in. That's stupid. Don't do that. I was so confused. When this started, I was like, oh, is this actually just a singles match? And then Johnny comes out in his music. I was like, what is going on here? It's very weird.
It is indeed. Nathan Frazier got his fire hot tag only to get caught with Shatter Machine. Axiom landed a top rope Spanish fly before Frazier took out Ciampa with a huge tope con hero that Ciampa barely helped land. With the referee distracted, Candice LeRae pulled off Axiom's mask, getting massive and immediate heat, preventing Golden Ratio, and allowing Gargano to cover for the 1-2-3. Graves screamed, "He's hideous," when Axiom's mask got removed. I thought that was hilarious, especially since he's a pretty good-looking dude. Not the best match we could have gotten from these 4 guys. It needed another 10 minutes. But it was a few development. It worked. They were also wearing awesome shirts. Ciampa, "Don't call me a jackass." Gargano, "Don't call my best friend a jackass." And LeRae, "Don't call my husband's best friend a jackass." They should sell "Don't call Candice LeRae's husband's best friend a jackass." People would buy that shit. I loved it. All in all, a light good, a step in the right direction for the tag team division, but man, they need more time.
The shirt also plays into my feelings on the entrance. They should have all kind of come out at the same time because I was very confused at the beginning when it was just Ciampa. But the shirts all fit together. It worked. Getting pulling the mask off has happened a lot. It's happened a lot this year. So it's obviously it's a long time wrestling trope. I'm trying to remember if someone being pinned via mask pull off has actually
absolutely happened. Because they're so concerned about covering their face that their shoulders are on the canvas. It's definitely happened many, many times. Yeah.
That would just in terms of what I've seen recently, I haven't seen it play out exactly like that. Maybe I'm just misinterpreting it, but I was also thinking
you're saying where there wasn't offense in addition to it.
Yeah.
So it's definitely happened. It's usually a pinning combination.
Right. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
I was also thinking are his shoulders technically up when he's covering his face? It is, it's a little, it's your shoulder blades. Got to move the shoulders.
I forgot what those are called. There's a term for them, but it's the shoulder blades. So it's your actual shoulders don't need to be down, just the 2 pointy parts of your body.
This was fine. I'll give it a light good because they're trying to do something with the tag team division, and I'll appreciate that. I also realized I had a dream that they pulled his mask off and they just showed us his face, Axiom. And I was trying to remember as I was going through the notes, I was like, wait, did that actually happen or did I dream that? First, I literally dreamed that the same thing happened, but instead of him covering himself, the camera just zoomed in on his face. I was like, oh, I guess we're just doing this. And then I didn't realize, I was like, oh no, that didn't actually happen.
Yeah. No,
so that was weird.
You did dream it, but there is a kid out there who happens to look like Axiom might, let's say, under.
I'm not going to Google images for a kid. So
you know what? Fair enough. Chris, that wraps up the good, the bad, and the ugly. Let's finally get to the WWE Survivor Series
WarGames
Ultimate Preview. It is stunning to me that this is a 4-match card. And for those uninitiated joining us for the first time, we're going to break down all 4 of these matches, tell you what happened on the go-home shows, give you our picks and predictions, and analyze where we expect WWE will go. Coming out of it, we'll also give you a pre-show expectation grade at the end of this episode. But Chris, 4-match card. If it was a Royal Rumble with 2-hour-long matches, I'd understand. If it was a normal Survivor Series in an arena, perhaps I would understand. This is a stadium show in front of 35,000 people. Crown Jewel earlier this year had 5 matches. WarGames, they go 40 minutes each when it's long. Even if you gave both singles title matches on the show 20 minutes, which I cannot imagine because they feature John Cena and Nikki Bella, that's 2 hours of wrestling maximum. And I know folks are going to say, well, that's because there's going to be an hour of ads. There's not an hour of ads. There's a lot of ads, for sure. Not an hour. There's got to be at least one other segment or match or something scheduled for this show. And for reference, because I checked, each of the last 3 years, there have been 5 matches on the Survivor Series WarGames card. So my pure guess here is that we'll get like an Ilya Dragunov Open Challenge, maybe with a high-level contender. Otherwise, I'm not sure what they're doing keeping this card so short on such a big show. It's just not reasonable.
I'm trying to think, like, do they do kind of a spontaneous open challenge for Dragunov and somebody like makes a surprise return?
Something like that.
Like, who could it even be?
Maybe from injury, like, someone from NXT.
Yeah, like Jeff Hardy's in TNA. He's been a part of NXT stuff. Like, I don't know, but I do wonder if that's possible.
Rey Mysterio challenges him. They're in San Diego. Like, how is Rey Mysterio not on this card, by the way? I know he'll get involved with Cena and Dominic, but still.
Well, that's why I still can't believe we're not doing Rey
crazy
versus Dom here, frankly.
For the AAA Mega title, it should have been. It's unbelievable.
You can have John Cena fight anybody else. It's fine.
But that's the thing. John Cena could have had an Intercontinental Championship match against someone else, and then you do Dominic and Rey for the Mega title, and you're done. That's a 5-match card. You're a banger card if you do that.
Yeah. I'm trying to think like what else is possible. I mean, I imagine the WarGames matches each go almost an hour.
No, I told you the average is 40 minutes the last 3 years.
I know that's the average, but I could understand them going longer for these. But it is hard to. I mean, you get to 3.5 hours. I don't know. It is. I'm trying to.
I don't know how they get to 3 hours. I don't know how they get to 3, let alone 3.5.
Yeah, I mean, they've been doing. Yeah, I mean, open challenge. The other thing that should have happened here, though, by the way, is if they had planned it out properly ahead of time, which we know they didn't, have the John Cena tournament championship match here.
The final.
And have that person have an interaction with Cena, kick off
100%.
The next couple of weeks to build to the final match. Because that final match is going to happen, a week or a couple of weeks before the match happens. You're not even going to have time to build it. This would have been a great way to kick it off.
It's a great point. Well, you have Cena and Dominic open the show. Then you do that match in the middle of the show, and Cena comes out to confront that person, and you at least get a face-to-face between them.
Yeah. Because all that's left is this and Saturday Night's Main Event for Cena, right?
Yeah, that's it.
So you will not have, technically, we're not planning to have a face-to-face with John Cena and his final match opponent.
Correct.
Before the match.
Correct. And by the time Saturday ends, there's going to be 2 weeks, basically.
Just weird.
Yeah, pretty odd. All right, let's get to the 4-match card. We'll start with the Women's World Championship. Stephanie Vaquer defending against Nikki Bella. Vaquer got a promo package at the tail end of Raw, saying everyone told her not to trust Bella, and they were right because she ended up betraying her despite Stephanie getting her back. She said Nikki's not as smart as she thinks because she knows her games and her history, but Nikki doesn't know anything about who she's effing with. Solid promo. Stephanie can speak the language. She doesn't fully understand intonation in English yet.
Yeah.
In other words, she's saying the right words, but not with the inflection on key phrases to make them kind of hit home. It's disappointing that this was the only build for the match, 30 seconds of speaking from one side. In the final half hour of Raw, Nikki didn't do anything. The attack last week from Nikki was horrible. Why she couldn't have cut a similar promo responding to this, or you have her speak first and like fully explain herself and then have Vaquer respond, I don't understand. As I said last week, I like this match being on the card. I know there's a lot of people who think like Nikki doesn't deserve it and Stephanie should be defending against someone better. The entire women's division on this brand, most of the women's division on this brand, is involved in WarGames, and those are your big stars. This is 2 Latin women in San Diego with a lot of star power, a chance for Vaquer to get put over by a legend. I just wish the go home was better.
Your point about the intonation, I don't know Spanish, but when she did the Spanish part of her promo, I got the same feeling there, where I was like, I don't, where like I didn't know.
Oh, you think it's her as a promo, not her speaking English?
Yeah, it may just be her as a speaker.
Oh, interesting.
Like, you're not really emphasizing any words here. Just compared to other Spanish speakers we've seen on the show, and when Dom does it and stuff like that. Again, I don't know the language, but I was like, it almost sounded the exact same when she flipped.
Yeah.
If so, I don't know, but yeah, it was obviously disappointing. And in case anyone had any doubts that Stephanie Vergara is winning, the fact that there's been very little build up to the end of this would seem to indicate that is the case as well. I'm fine with this match happening. Like we said, Nikki's a legend. She's in the Hall of Fame. You give Stephanie a good win. It's fine. And a lot of the other women are either in the WarGames match or they're extremely young, like Roxanne Perez, who's going to be just fine.
And you're a notable name. If you're Nikki, you're selling tickets. You know, you're getting people in the building. People know her. Casual fans know her. You're doing a stadium show in California. I mean, it makes complete sense. To what you said about Vaquera's promo, then perhaps it's not an English issue. It's a promo scripting issue where she's reading the words, but not either comprehending or inflecting the meaning behind the words. And that is a problem that a lot of wrestlers, even who cut English promos when English is their first language, it's a problem they have. So for her, maybe it just stood out a little bit more to me, but that has to be a lot more natural. And if you're WWE and you notice this is happening with Vaquera, then stop scripting her so much. Let her just go out there and speak, especially when it's taped. It's one thing to script something live for a non-English speaker. It's quite another when you're doing a taped segment and you can cut it 100 times if you want. Let her go out there and cut a promo and put the best pieces together.
Like she does. For as badass as she looks and has that entrance, she doesn't come across as like confident. And like I compare that to Julia, who's also has a language barrier, but you feel like she feels confident.
Absolutely, yeah. Despite her being booked terribly.
Herself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm not sure what it quite is, but obviously Stephanie's an incredible wrestler, but I think the general charisma part that comes with being a pro wrestler is still a work in progress.
Yeah, that's a completely fair criticism. I agree with your prediction, by the way. Vaquera retains the title here. Bella puts her over. It's the entire point of them doing this. Booking otherwise would be stunning. There's no result on this show that would be more stunning than Nikki beating Stephanie for the title. I couldn't even freaking imagine it. In terms of where this goes afterward, well, I'm not going to say the whole vision is going to get freed up after WarGames, but a substantial number of women are going to become available. It seems like they're still going to run the Judgment Day feud, which I was into, and I think you were as well. Raquel got one opportunity, didn't see it through. She might get another one. Roxanne Perez, as we mentioned earlier, is fully deserving of it. I find them to be both believable challengers, the way they've been booked on Raw recently. So my guess is they go with that through the end of the year into Royal Rumble season. And then, of course, everything gets reset for WrestleMania.
Yeah, agree.
Intercontinental Championship. John Cena in his penultimate WWE match defending against Dominic Mysterio. Dominic opened hour 2 of Raw, getting consistent heat that has long been missing. Best work from the OKC crowd all night. I know I've been critical. They nailed this. Dom started tearing down Cena, saying he would never come to that dump, when suddenly Cena's music hit, the crowd popped huge, and Joe Tessitore sold the hell out of this. Oh my God, an extra appearance unplanned from John Cena. How lucky are we? 10 out of 10, Joe. 10 out of 10. Instead, a little person popped out with another little person wearing a Stu shirt, the cameraman, following him around with a handheld camera as the real Stu was shown fully on screen for like the entire segment. Maybe the first time ever we've seen him for that long. Obviously, we've gotten glimpses of Stu before. Mysterio talked down to John Cena, who didn't totally stick to the script and instead talked shit back. So Dom booted him in the chest and hit his signatures with a frog splash to end it. Despite this transpiring extensively over a few minutes, it was not until Dom finished killing this dude that Ray finally saved. Yeah, folks, I'm sorry. This was effing horrendous. And let me be clear about my opinion. I was not offended, and I did not find it to be offensive. It was just awful. Everything worked through Cena's music hitting. Great heel move to fake out the fans and turn excitement into disappointment and get them to boo and hate you even more. Everything after that was absolute dog shit. Okay, you know what? Mini Stu was kind of smart and funny. The rest of it should have been left in 1999. It was horrible, unoriginal, uninspired. It lacked entertainment value. And frankly, it was boring. Cheap, lowbrow, eye-rolling attempt at heat for a guy who is so much better than that and doesn't need it. He was getting more heat speaking on his own than he got in the remainder of the segment with the little person. I feel like Paul Levesque forgot this is 2025. I'm not saying little people can't be involved in angles or silliness. They can. But this was juvenile, dumb, attempted humor. And this was the go-home for an Intercontinental Championship match against the greatest of all time. Really, they couldn't have come up with anything better than this. I know Cena couldn't be there. Ray could have done a stand-in promo. They could have taped something last week. Hell, they could have done absolutely nothing if we're being honest. And it would have been better than this.
0.0.
0.0, Mr. Blutarski.
Come on, Oos. It's a joke, right? It's a joke, Oos. You with me?
Yeah, it was ugly. It was lazy. I did think the little Stu part was, at least that was kind of funny and creative. Like, all right, they did put some effort into really like making it feel like that. And the guy did a pretty good impression.
Yeah, he did a good job. Let's be fair.
The mannerisms and everything, like he actually did a really good job of that. And I just like, it was like this, it's the whole, like when Cena's not around thing. It's like the same thing with the tournament. It's like, why are we not doing Dominic versus Ray? You have a face-to-face promo here. Talk about, San Diego, going to their history. Like there's so much story you can still tell with them. And we're instead doing this for a Cena rematch. That'll be Dom's third match against Cena in the last month. Just like, this is ugly, not boring, but just annoying and a bit of a waste of time.
You're in the wrong segment, but I do agree with that sentiment. I would have graded it ugly if we were in the good, the bad, and the ugly. To your point, Ray could have come out and said, dude, I'm not going to let you talk about John Cena like this, like the way you are. They get into a skirmish, Judgment Day saves, Ray chases Dom out of the ring, chases him backstage, and then Ray comes back and does the match with JD McDonough. I mean, it was so easy to book this better, and they just didn't. Now, one of our listeners, Gian Rodriguez, I hope I said your name right, your first name, at Thick Boy Fishing, 2 C's and a BOI, great Twitter handle, by the way. He pointed out a potential similarity to a SmackDown segment from 2003, where Kurt Angle, who was dressed as Cena, brought out a mini Kurt who attacked him. Yes. And I think a couple people on social media thought this was a reference back to that. Best I could tell, it was a similarity, not a reference. Dominic wasn't dressed as Cena here, and the little person didn't beat up Dom. If they were going to call back, as they did in the CM Punk feud or the with AJ Styles in the baby blue jacket, which was meant to be the salmon jacket, you make a direct reference. Dom could have come out as Cena playing his music, and then they could have done they could have done it that way, but that's not what they did. It's just a similarity. This was not that. For me, it was just a bad segment. Again, I want to reiterate, not an offensive segment, just a bad one.
They did the CM Punk comes out as Cena earlier this year.
Yeah.
I think the Miz did it not long ago. Like or I guess that was a while ago, but it's just, there are several wrestling tropes you do that when you don't have your opponent around for a while, you do things like this. And, we're, cynical veterans of watching wrestling. So we've seen it done before. Maybe younger people who, don't know about the previous things that this has done, liked it more. I just was like, not for me.
This wasn't attractive, though, to young people. And you know what, man? It was out of character for Dominic. He's a piece of shit, but he doesn't do stuff like this. This is carny stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Dom does carny stuff. Dom's as carny as it gets.
Not like this. Not like this, though. He doesn't reach into a bag of tricks to do. He's an asshole.
Yeah.
He's a millennial asshole or Gen Z asshole, whatever he is. That's what he is. And this just was antithetical to his. I felt it was antithetical to his character, personally.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of a match prediction here, look, when John Cena won the Intercontinental Championship from Dom a couple weeks ago, I said, "Oh, great! So the tournament will not only determine his final challenger, but probably the next Intercontinental Champion. Cena will lose, he'll drop the title, and that person will take it and run with it." them throwing this match in obviously put a wrench in my expectations. But the only reason you book this match a second time is if you're having Cena go out on his back and Dom retake the title. Otherwise, why are you rematching it? It doesn't make a shred of sense, especially considering all the alternatives that we've discussed. Cena defending against someone else, Dominic fighting Rey, so on and so forth. So the prediction, I believe, has to be Dominic regaining the Intercontinental Championship. I hope, honestly, dude, that it's super clean. I presume there will be Judgment Day and Rey running in. And if that happens, that's okay because it works for the storyline. But once they leave the ringside area, I legitimately hope we get 5 full clean minutes of these guys fighting and Dom outsmarting and beating Cena. And I hope Cena gives him a handshake or a head nod or something like that and actually puts him over here. This should not be a situation where in his penultimate match, Cena gets screwed out of a title. Like the guy, you don't need to protect him anymore. There's one match left and everyone's going to watch it no matter what happens. So Dominic Mysterio wins. And I hope that it's as clean as it can be. I'm going to go so far as to predict that it's as clean as it can be for WWE.
I mean, I could see. I mean, Cena's only got 2 matches left. Is he going to lose his last 2 to put people over?
You know what? The expectation is that he loses his final match to Gunther. But as I said earlier, okay, he could go out a hero or get defeated by a conquering villain. If he loses, I almost said jobbed. It's not a job. If he loses to Dominic and puts Dominic over, he doesn't need to lose to Gunther all of a sudden. He can win his final match.
Also true. And I mean, Undertaker won his last match.
Yeah.
I could see
Sting won his last match.
Like I could see a spot here where Dom cheats to win, Rey makes the save, Cena wins. That sets us down a Rey Dominic, back to WrestleMania again thing. I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't do Rey Dominic here, but they're so around each other so much. I'm gonna pick Dom for the same reason. Like, I don't understand why you do this twice, if not to give the belt back to him. Then again, I hated Dom having the 2 belts. Didn't think he needed it. And like, I could see Cena putting over. It could be his last opportunity to put over a young guy if he fights Gunther. Even Gunther's not a young guy.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm gonna go with Dom, but I don't think it's. I feel like the match. I feel like it could very much end where John Cena's victorious, and you and I are going, how did we not think John Cena was obviously going to win his last stadium show match? Like it's John Cena.
Well, because I mean, I've said this on prior episodes, but John really has an affinity for the Mysterio family, their legacy, Eddie Guerrero. So it is not, it would honestly be a shocker to me if he wins this match. Not only because it doesn't make as much sense in storyline and it doesn't help Dominic, right? Who getting a win over Cena and being able to say that you're the last person, by the way, to beat Cena, especially if Cena beats Gunther, then Dominic can walk around. I beat Cena for the Intercontinental Championship and I'm the last person to get a win over him. It really does create a best of both worlds scenario where you have this big mega match in his final showing, but Dominic does get put over in the way that we all wanted Cena to put over his last opponent. It's just the penultimate opponent. So yeah, that's why I look at it and I say, it really, out of all the Cena results this year, I mean, the one that made no sense was him getting squashed by Brock Lesnar. We've gone over that. But this one, Cena beating Dom would be pretty close to that.
I'm picking Dom. I'm not ruling out a Cena win. I think it's certainly possible.
I agree that you can't rule it out. It's not 100%, but I do feel like it's 95%. Sounds weird to say it, but now that we're done talking about Cena, the undercard of this show is done. And Chris, it is officially time to move to WarGames! Let's start with the women. Io Sky, Rhea Ripley, Alexa Bliss, Charlotte Flair, and AJ Lee against the Kabuki Warriors, Nia Jax and Lash Legend, and Becky Lynch. Bliss, backstage on SmackDown, thanked Flair for getting her back, with Charlotte saying she only cares about her and not anyone else. Then Alexa opened the door to a room where Ripley and Sky were waiting, sitting right next to and on top of each other, despite them being on a massive couch like they were on a date. Io left, and they did a one-on-one with Rhea. She started the conversation saying their prior rivalry was about both of them wanting to be the best, but they need to go to war together. And there's no one she would want on her side more for a battle like that than Charlotte. Ripley asked if she could trust her. Flair agreed, and they shook hands. I gotta tell you, dude, this was disappointing. I thought we were actually going to get something meaty and meaningful between them. Charlotte barely spoke. If it was that easy for them to make good, then Flair really did act like an asshole 2 weeks ago, walking out like she did, or last week, whenever that was. So while I fully appreciated WWE going the logical route, telling a story of Flair not immediately accepting Ripley as a teammate, given their history, Rhea growing as a person by actually apologizing, it's a great concept. They did it in this like haphazard way. They took a woman getting the biggest pops of her career, got her booed one week, had her save anyway 72 hours later, and then had her accept an apology without a conversation inside of 7 days. Great idea, immensely flawed execution. Even the production was weird. The first segment was normal camera work. Then the meeting was all cinematic like the Roman Reigns CM Punk sit down exactly 1 year ago. Except this had none of the gravitas of that. It was oddly executed, and there's really no excuse for it because they were always going to be in the match together. There was plenty of time between when the last PLE ended and this one for them to build this like mini rivalry and create this storyline. So, successful in terms of the concept, unsuccessful for me in terms of the execution.
Yeah, it was just, if it was just going to be that's it, then why did we need to do this? I mean, I don't think it derailed Charlotte or anything. She's back to being cheered.
Yeah, she's fine. Yeah, she's fine.
But it was a weird 1 week off ramp to give you a cinematic thing that like, I don't even remember totally the history between Rhea and Charlotte. I don't view them as like generational rivals necessarily. Like they hadn't interacted in a while. It was a bit random, but ultimately they got there. It was fine.
Yeah, they fought at WrestleMania twice, I want to say. Flair won the first time. People were upset. Ripley won the second time. She was kind of acting like a spoiled brat, which is kind of what Charlotte called her out for going into that match. So they had plenty of history. I just don't think it's like the hottest, most interesting and exciting history. And that's why it fell flat a little bit. But then again, going cinematic for no reason, trying to put it on the same level as Reigns and Punk, last year, which it wasn't. And that storyline was much deeper and thicker. They were really telling us like there's a favor and all this stuff is happening.
It was about Paul Heyman. It was about
yeah.
They had the connection of Paul Heyman was the real thing.
Right. This was just in a room. And I could be wrong. I think Ripley spoke for 98% of that conversation. Charlotte didn't even say her side. And Charlotte's like, all right, yeah, cool. We're good. We're on the same page. Good idea. Flawed in execution, like I said. So the faces hit the ring for the main event of SmackDown with Ripley leading the charge. You know how Charlotte always bends over at the waist when she gets in the ring? Well, Rhea was standing on the ring apron, straight up staring at her the entire time. As the Sandlot kids used to say about Wendy Peppercorn, she knew exactly what she was doing.
Gonna look good, but she's got me saying, hey now!
She said they're much closer than the heels realized as a team. She called Io real. They kept touching each other like they were, Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande at the Wicked Press Tour, extremely coded like a couple. Charlotte was back to getting woos from the crowd, which was great. She mentioned Rhea saying they now know they can all trust each other. Then she introduced their fifth member, AJ Lee, of course. That got a massive pop. As she entered, she didn't realize the heels had attacked the faces from behind. So AJ is just standing there like emoting and stuff on the stage. Finally, she realizes it. She gets to ringside. And when she does, Becky Lynch blindsides her. Nia Jax then landed Annihilator on Ripley and bounced up and down on her chest.
PG, brother.
Lynch then went face-to-face with Asuka and actually offered her own hand as the heels celebrated. Trying to stretch the storyline and developments across both brands is really tough. But Chris, I got to tell you, they got the job done here. The bigger problem is the entire main event segment felt rushed because it began with like 4 to 5 minutes left in the show. Again, it was only Ripley speaking. It would have been nice to hear from Bliss, the best promo in the ring at the time, or Flair, considering she didn't speak earlier. But I did find it to be immensely successful. The main event of SmackDown, way better than the earlier stuff we got backstage. And the women really shined on this episode, which, surprise, surprise, is one of the reasons SmackDown was better than Raw this week.
Yeah, this was good. I just, like you said, I would have liked more of it. Once we knew Becky was in it, you figured, I'm sorry, once we saw AJ was in it, you figured Becky would be in it. That made all sense. That all made sense. Nia bouncing up and down on Rhea. I did write that down. It also kind of reminded me of the Rhea Ripley stink faces to Nia that she's done on some house shows. They've got a bit of a history bouncing up and down on each other. But
that's the most action I've had all year.
This was energetic, physical, good stuff. I think it kind of gets back to like, I don't think you need 5. You kind of just shoehorn 2 more people in at the very end, but it was fine. It was good.
What I was hoping after SmackDown is that we would get something between Becky and Nia on Raw because of their issues. They're as deep, if not deeper, than the stuff with Charlotte and Rhea. Now, yes. Becky and Nia teamed before, and I believe when they did, Lynch left Jax hanging in that match despite doing a backstage segment. Now, the heels don't need as much reason to team up, but Lynch's character for me is too defined to just ignore that rivalry. So that was my hope going into Monday night. On Raw, Bex led the heel side out for the go-home segment, ranting about what happened last week with Maxine and Jessica, promising that heads will roll, the decision will be overturned, and she'll get her title back. What's funny is she said she wasn't going to talk about it at all. She was warned not to, and then she talked about it anyway, again, playing the parody. For now, she said the focus was on the face side, ensuring this is the last match of AJ's career, given she made the dumb decision of locking herself in a cage with her. Lynch then took credit for assembling the greatest team, reminding about the Asuka feud, shading her that she beat her 9 out of 10 times. Then she credited Nia for being the only one who could ever hurt her, even though she beat her every time they fought. She shaded Rhea for wearing a mask when Bex didn't need one when she broke her nose. Then she put her arm around Lash, saying she'd make her a star just like she made the other women in the group a star. She had alliterative nicknames for all the faces. They obviously interrupted. Expert level stuff from Becky Lynch. AJ called Bex insecure and scared, needing to tear others down, saying it was Lynch who made a mistake of entering WarGames because the old AJ Lee will be coming out when that door closes. Then she drilled Nia with the mic, and a 10-woman brawl began. The brawl was mediocre. Rhea and Charlotte teamed up in a key moment, and Io hit a ringside moonsault into all of the heels except for Lynch, who ran away like a coward. This was just not as effective for me overall as what we got on SmackDown. The whole feud was built around the babyface tag teams and the Warriors. So having the 2 newest entrants in the match leading the go-home storyline was ridiculous. Now, granted, Becky was by far the best talker on the heel side, and she did a great job claiming that she assumed the team due to her massive ego and character. That worked. It was an incredible parody promo by her, truly. But the other faces should have been given a level of verbal involvement before the brawl. It's their fight. AJ is the least involved person out of the group of 10 that were in the ring. And by the way, she spoke terribly. The contrast of Becky and AJ here was wild. All in all, the overall build to Women's WarGames is night and day better than what WWE did last year by a significant margin when you think back about it, largely due to most of the creative happening on Raw. But this segment, this go home, for me, it was a weak point at the wrong time.
I like the Becky part of it. Because you added them at the last minute on SmackDown, you have to have them talk about being part of the team. Like there's just not much time left to explain it and do it. So you kind of had to do it here. You had to have AJ have her moment because the other people in the group have kind of already had it. Becky was pretty funny when she's talking about Nia breaking the bones of her face, but they're great bones or something. Like she very much sounded like drunk the way she described her own face. Nia, by the way, looked incredible in that lace top she was wearing. Another obligatory hey now.
Man, I feel like you're on a little bit of a Nia Jax train here.
She's dressing incredibly. She's just out there in I don't want to say street clothes, but like basically like street clothes. She's not coming out in her wrestling.
You know what? Look, for vintage Chris Vanini.
I was up all night.
And overall, I also realized this is the second year in a row Rhea is going into WarGames with a mask.
Correct.
Because she had the eye socket issue last year, and she had that like demon mask she wore in the match. Mm-hmm. I'm curious if we get something like that again. I've just realized I feel like I'm not seeing Rhea's full face very often anymore. It's because she's always like her face is always injured.
It's not spoken about enough. She is kind of injury prone. I mean,
yeah,
it sucks to say it because she's so dominant and has the potential to be the greatest women's wrestler. I don't want to say ever necessarily, but in the game today. But she's always hurt, and her availability is not really what it should be.
Yeah, it's been a little bit weird. I like the segment. I've liked most of the women's War Games build more than the men. I liked it. This is good.
There's no doubt the women's build has been better than the men. It's the exact opposite of what it was last year. Before we get to predicting this match, I did want to add one thing, Chris. I'm already convinced that the idea of AJ Lee returning was far better than AJ Lee actually returning. Some of her work in that first match left a lot to be desired. We'll see how she does Sunday. Her promo here was miserable. She's shown so much personality and charisma before. I'm not sure what she's trying to do at this point. It just feels like she's stuck in the past a little bit. So again, to kind of reiterate what I just said, her return, exciting, awesome. I think I said on the program, she was the lone woman who WWE could bring back and still get a pop like that because they hadn't otherwise returned. Of course, Sasha Banks not counting. I'm talking about a legend. And yet, now that she's back, it's just kind of like, okay, she's on TV and it's cool.
Well, we got to remember the stuff with her and Punk and Rollins and Becky was really hot, and then Seth got hurt. And so
I'm talking more about the wrestling and the promo game, not so much like the storytelling.
Sure, but I mean, she's only wrestled one match.
Yeah, one match, just one.
Yeah, so like there's not much to really compare, and it's her first match back. You don't have to expect it to be great. I think it turned out to be a bit of a stop and start. She came back, but then she wasn't back every week. You do the Punk Rollins stuff, and yeah, it was a letdown, but then that ends because Rollins gets hurt, and so now you don't really have her for a while or have anything for her to do. She's not someone, you need every week wrestling matches because you've got so many people there. You just kind of got to pick and choose your spots. And I don't know how long they plan to have her and Punk together, but you kind of had to end that when Rollins got hurt. So that kind of put them in a bit of a tough spot. Yeah,
that's going to be really interesting too, because now that they're not going to be able to run her with Punk unless they bubble up something with another couple, which is possible. There's others in the organization that they could make work. AJ on an island is less interesting than AJ with Punk. And
yeah, because I mean, AJ on an island, like she previously was the person who rebelled against the machine, you know, and Punk as the everybody loves me babyface is never good as Punk as the heel or the guy fighting against the machine. And I think we're seeing the same thing with AJ.
No question about it. All right, it is time to predict women's War Games. Of course, we still have the men's War Games to go. Chris, let me throw this one to you. Which side do you think is going to win? And just to be clear, we do not know which team has the advantage. That is going to happen SmackDown. They're going to do the advantage match. And again, we didn't see the spoilers, so I can't tell you who has the advantage going in. Not that it matters anyway. It's kayfabe. But, which side? You got Kabuki Warriors, Nia Jax, Lash Legend, and Becky Lynch on the heel side. Io Sky, Rhea Ripley, Alexa Bliss, Charlotte Flair, and AJ Lee on the face side.
So I don't have the heel women ever won a War Games match?
Man, that's a fantastic question. I want to say Becky Lynch has won both times she's been in it, and she would have been a babyface both of those times, right?
I'm going to go with the faces here because I feel like they always win. I also feel like Kairi Sane is someone who can take a pin out of this group as I look at it. It also kind of ties into my prediction for the men's match later. I'm going to go with the faces.
Okay, so I agree with you from the standpoint that it seems like the babyface women always win because they do. They're 3-0 in main roster War Games matches, and doing a quick check here as I'm going through these. The two that Becky Lynch was involved in, so 2022 and 2023, she won, but on the babyface side. And like we just said, the faces are 3-0 in these matches. But when I go through these item by item, the face side is also just stronger in all of these from a talent standpoint.
Io Sky also 3-0.
Yeah. Well, no. She's was on the heel side with Damage Control. No, she's lost these matches. But she's been in, by the way, Io Sky has been in every single women's War Games. It's happened. WWE, NXT. This is her signature match. And to that end, you would say, well, the person whose signature match it is makes sense for them to win. I'm going to go in the other direction, though. I agree that the women's side is stacked. I mean, you have 5 former champions, main title champions here. Whereas on the heel side, you have 3. And that certainly is a major differential, but partially because of what my expectation is for the main event of the show. Looking at the way this has been built, the Kabuki Warriors and Asuka being super over, them needing to be built strong going into WrestleMania, I presume they're going to fight Io Sky and Rhea Ripley for the Women's Tag Team Championships. That's just a guess in terms of what could happen in April. And then again, we have to get there because it's, we're 6 months away. So it's a long way to get there. I think the heel side just has to get a victory, A, to kind of flip the script on the tradition of this match, to your point, over the last 3 years, and B, to kind of keep things interesting here. If the faces go over, then what? You know what I mean? Like, where do they go from there? So on the babyface side, I'm going to say either Bliss or AJ takes the fall. If it's AJ, it's Becky. If it's Bliss, perhaps it's Asuka. But I think they're going to flip the script a little bit. And yeah, the heel side is a lot weaker. You know, Lash Legend, she's, I think, getting her main roster full-time debut match here, which is crazy to say. Nia Jax hasn't been booked that well recently. She was booked better earlier in the year, but Becky's crazy strong. Asuka's crazy strong. They're really leading the Raw women's division right now, both of them. And I think that's the side that you got to go with. So yeah, I have the heels beating the faces in women's war games.
Maybe you have some Charlotte and Rhea end up not coexisting or something like that.
Possibly.
Could play that out. Could have these tag teams kind of turn on each other a little bit. Yeah, could be.
We'll see. Men's war games. Cody Rhodes, CM Punk, Roman Reigns, and the Usos against the Vision, Logan Paul, Drew McIntyre, and Brock Lesnar. On SmackDown, Paul Heyman opened in the ring, putting over the heel team, and twice, not once, but twice, referring to Logan Paul, not separate from the Vision, although that didn't necessarily carry over, but it was odd to me. He promoted Reed as dominant, and Paul, frankly, basically said, this guy's a piece of shit, so he fits on our team. It's kind of what he said. The Usos interrupted and said nothing. Heyman pointed out that they have the numbers advantage. The fans chanted OTC and CM Punk, but it was Rhodes whose music hit, except he didn't show. Instead, McIntyre emerged from Cody's tour bus with Cody fake bloodied hanging over the exit stairs. It was like Halloween makeup, comical. The dude had a huge gash on his head, yet no blood dripping anywhere. Why not use a capsule or something? If you're showing red, show red. And that was the start of SmackDown. Technically better than the last few months, considering Drew did a surprise attack on Cody. But even that was kind of like, oh, okay. McIntyre did look like a badass. That was important, but he always looks like a badass. The creative team on the Blue brand, they just have no idea how to do a compelling opening segment. It is wild, dude.
No, I mean, like, I was fine with this. I thought it was interesting. It was something different. It was something with the bus. I mean, we've kind of seen it with The Rock, and I feel like this would definitely fit a lot more before a head-to-head matchup between the two of them rather than a War Games match. But I didn't have a problem with it. I liked it.
Fair enough. As a quick aside, this was probably further confirmation that McIntyre did not take out Jacob Fatu, as he said previously, because he was proud of this attack, like all of his attacks. Yet he vehemently denied involvement with Jacob. So it's just worth remembering that he was happy to take credit here, and in that case was not. Nick Aldis later confronted the heels with Heyman, insisting he respected authority, considering McIntyre never stepped foot in the arena. Later, after the Usos and Rhodes took out the Vision and helped Mello, we talked about that earlier, Cody jumped on the announce table and grabbed the mic, shitting all over his forthcoming opponents one by one. I missed what he said about McIntyre. He said everyone knows that Rhodes are better than Steiners. All Paul has done is bring his drone to the ring, and he, Cody, is the last person to beat Lesnar. Not once, but twice. Then he made Heyman realize that he builds up all these superstars one by one, and Rhodes just knocks him down. That was a great setup, but he had an even better closing line talking about War Games and the match beyond, quote, "It's not just a match, it's my damn birthright." Shout out Dusty Rhodes, Dada. Cody is totally right here. His best promo in months, in contention for his best promo of the year, maybe. A refreshing way to continue the story through the show, helping someone else get over in Mello rather than just doing a backstage attack. Straight fire stuff from Rhodes here. Classic old school Survivor Series and or War Games promo. It was like Festivus. I've got a lot of problems with you people, and now you're going to hear about it. The camera work was great when it came to the super kick interrupting breaker. The face side wound up with some much needed gravity as a unit that they simply have not had recently. This was much more successful than the opener, as we've seen so many times on SmackDown, especially with the main storyline. This is the version of Cody that we need to see more frequently, particularly the next time he's chasing the title and not the champion. Talk your shit, man. Talk your shit.
Yeah, one of the best Cody promos in a while, even though it wasn't very long, but like that was, it felt deserved because like we've seen, and I say that because of the opening, which I still liked. We've had sometimes Cody gets furious at Drew or furious at somebody and agrees to a match, and you're like, really? That's it? That's all it took to send Cody off? But this actually was earned. It was earned for Cody to react that way because of what happened in the opening. So I still think it all tied together pretty well. And I liked Cody here. I liked this, the whole thing.
Completely agree, man. There was a cool moment to start Raw where fans literally opened the show chanting OTC, and Roman Reigns indeed wound up opening, which is just rare these days. He aura farmed for like 5 minutes, saying nothing else except acknowledge me before Cody entered still wearing his makeup. It did look much better than Friday. At least that was some continuity. Rhodes wondered why Reigns involved himself. Roman said he's been fighting this war. Cody's just joining it. And half the team is his family, an investment he wants to see through. Rhodes stuck out a hand, calling it his team. That led to a CM Punk interruption. The dude's hair, by the way, is full Ricky Rabies at this point. It is so damn high. Punk said, OKC acknowledge us. That's what he said. We talked about that earlier. OKC acknowledge us. Got a pop. He called it an all-star war game, saying he and Roman did this before when he saved Reigns' life last year. Roman said then he ruined it 4 months later. Punk took issue with Cody declaring himself captain, considering Raw as his show. So Reigns suggested they could just go ahead and measure their dicks and get it over with. But he hates Heyman and the Vision more than them, and that's all that matters. That's why he's in the match. Fair enough, Roman. He did acknowledge, quote, that title would look better on my shoulders. Then he dropped the mic, walked off with Punk wondering out loud who he was talking about. You know, Phil, you're hitting us a little bit too hard over the head with that. The whole point of him saying it and then leaving is for us to question, who is he talking about? Being ambiguous, right? I guess we'll forget that he called the World Heavyweight Championship a secondary title after it was introduced when Seth Rollins was carrying it. This was better than the SmackDown opening and better than really any SmackDown opening we've gotten in a while. Yet, Chris, for me, it still left a lot to be desired for these three guys. Their star power carried it. With Cody, Punk, and Reigns in one ring, you expect something explosive. Instead, they talked over each other a little bit. It was a little sloppy. It got the job done, showing a level of angst for the babyface side going into the match, possibly setting up a Royal Rumble win or WrestleMania storyline with Reigns. But it felt like a 6.5 out of 10 when something involving these three dudes should probably have a floor of like an 8.
Who cares who the leader is? What does it matter? Like legit, it doesn't matter who the leader is. A leader isn't given something extra if they win. They're not given a number one contender spot or a Rumble spot. It's the problem with WarGames sometimes, at least like Survivor Series way back in the old days, like used to have stakes for the sole survivor or the survivor or whatever. And maybe this is the spot to say it, but like, I still don't like the WarGames concept in general, or at least like the match should start when it starts. The whole idea that it doesn't start till everybody's in, it removes the urgency.
Well, then it's a gauntlet match.
While.
Then it's a gauntlet match if you do that.
Yeah, but that gives you a real advantage to having the numbers advantage because you're just going to be trying to survive during those periods that you have the handicap match against you. That's interesting. That's like urgency and intensity. Instead, it's just like, all right, they're fighting. Oh, someone did this, someone did this. You don't really care until everybody gets in. And then they have to like announce it. That makes it awkward. It's just, it's always been one of my issues with the WarGames match. I still think calling it Survivor Series WarGames is pretty darn stupid. Just make up your mind. So I don't love that. And it comes back to this point where they're like talking about who's the leader. Like, who cares? What does it matter? What does it have anything to do with this? Is it just about showing dissension between them? Sure. But you have Cody who calls himself QB1. You have Roman out there, by the way, still doing OTC1. It's on the shirt. I know. It's on the jump. It's on the Tron, which is stupid. No one's chanting OTC1. There's not a second OTC. It's insane. I can't believe we're doing this. So yeah, a big letdown compared to what you would want with these three guys, in part because what is there for them to say? I don't know. Yeah, no, you're right. But that's their job, though.
Like we sit here on the podcast many times and we'll say, well, they could have done it this way and it would have been a lot better. And I can't necessarily sit here in this case and tell you exactly what they could have said and done for that segment to become worthwhile. But it is not our job. It is their job to entertain us. They're the ones that should be coming up with it. And if they can't, then they shouldn't be doing the segment. Or they should be doing the segment in a different way backstage that leads to something else happening. Maybe they're all commiserating in the locker room and having a conversation about it. And, Cody's trying to lead everyone. But Punk's like, hey, man, hold on a second. Like, this is the team I put together. I invited you here. And he tries to lead. Like, there are so many other ways they could have done this and had it be more entertaining. Now, beyond that, to circle back to something else that you just said, calling it Survivor Series WarGames, you have to remember this is somewhat of an homage to what they did with WCW. It was Fall Brawl WarGames. And that's why the show is called that, because they're pretty much doing what they used to do. To your point, though, there was never a match called Fall Brawl. There was a match called Survivor Series. So you're either going to call it one or the other.
There was a whole series of them. That's why it's called Survivor Series.
Decades of Survivor Series. Yeah, it happened forever. So no, I'm with you on that standpoint. In terms of turning it into a gauntlet match, I love the concept. I do. I actually think it's really smart, and it shows a lot of gumption, or guts, I should say, not gumption. If you're the heel team and you have the advantage, and you're the baby face, and you're getting outnumbered 2-on-1, but you're kicking out of some of these, near falls, and the match could possibly end before your teammates get in there. Yeah, that's really exciting. Maybe you say the match begins when there's 3 competitors in instead of 5. You split the difference or something. But the whole concept of WarGames is that the people coming out one by one into the ring is WarGames. When the door closes and all 10 are in the ring, that's the match beyond. It's almost a separate indicator. This is now the match beyond, and a fall finishes the match.
What about the idea of it? What about combining Survivor Series WarGames and it being an elimination WarGames match?
Where they all start in the ring and you eliminate down to 2 people? Or
you can do that, but
you eliminate down to a team getting eliminated, basically? Like you have to get 5 finishes, basically, with all 10 people in the ring.
I think you could keep it the way it is, where like you slowly fill it up, then you slowly whittle it down.
Well,
and
then
whoever wins.
Then you're kind of at Elimination Chamber then. That's kind of the problem.
Yeah, that is true. That is a lot.
And that's another issue with WWE too.
But it's a tag team, which they have done for the chamber.
Let's put a pin in this, only because I want to have the WarGames Elimination Chamber conversation before we finish the show. But that is a sticky situation as well, because there's another one of these 4 months from now, basically. And that's problematic too. So back to Raw, okay? And as this continued building, the Usos confronted the big stars backstage. Jay said they covered everything except what matters, the advantage match. They didn't even talk about it in the opening promo, and he was right. They said they're on the same page, they being the Usos, whereas the others are not, and Jay ran down each of them a little bit, with the brothers giving all 3 the stink eye on the way out. Roman then demanded Cody and Punk fix the situation and decide who's the leader. Spoiler alert, we never found out. Solid follow, appropriate stance for the Usos to hold, considering they were completely ignored in the opening. Jay showed a little bit of the attitude and character that has been seriously missing the last few weeks. Chris, it doesn't mean he's suddenly back in the role that he inhabited previously, that we've been wondering where that guy went, but it was definitely a step back in that direction.
Yeah, it was a step forward. He is kind of the odd man out in this situation, and so you kind of got to find some spaces for him to stand out as well. But yeah, it was solid. It was good.
Heyman backstage begged McIntyre to take his opportunity on Raw seriously, saying he was only allowed in the building because he picked Drew for the tag team advantage match. Logan assumed the partner would be Brock, but Heyman said not to put Lesnar's name in his mouth. Then he continued incorrectly guessing the partner until, of course, it landed on him. We later saw Lesnar enter the arena by himself. The back and forth with Logan and Paul was actually more fun than I expected. Let Logan continue showing a personality and storyline other than the typical I'm rich, you're not, your city sucks type of shit. And he might actually get over as a heel rather than people just hate him.
I couldn't get over where this took place. It looked like it was some 1950s diner somewhere in the arena. It was just like the lighting, everything just looked so unusual for a WWE show. But that like made me more interested in like paying attention because it felt different. But yeah, I like this. I like this bit. Logan Paul, when he's pretty good when he's playing off other heels. because it gives him something else to talk about. Because when he's by himself, he only has one thing to talk about.
Yeah, totally. So we had the Usos against McIntyre and Paul in the WarGames Advantage match, the main event of Raw. Jay and Logan badly botched a backbreaker early. Drew straight tossed Jay over the announce table. Jimmy finally got the hot tag after some clowning by the heels during the break. Jim was dressed as if the Riddler was a wrestler. Extremely weak, delayed splash on Logan, who came back with a perfect blockbuster off the middle rope. Jimmy answered with a spear and an Uso splash for a broken fall. That brought out the Vision, Punk, and Rhodes for a brawl. Cody also started fighting Drew, who was in the match. He wasn't legal at the time. I forget the rule on that. I believe that's okay because he wasn't the legal man. Jay did a tope suicida, though, into everyone. And then Logan rolled up Jimmy to win. The brawl immediately continued. So I suppose the stink of Paul being the one to get a fall in one of the greatest tag teams in WWE history could just wash over. Reigns came out hitting 4 Superman punches, and the bottom third graphics went on the screen again, even though we were literally shown Lesnar earlier in the program. So Brock walked out. He did his stomp to accentuate his pyro, slips and falls, rolls over backward, grabs his cowboy hat, puts it on Breaker's head. Braun's laughing. Then they erupted in a 5-on-5 brawl as Raw ended with 10 people fighting, despite not having a hard out on the broadcast because it's streaming live on Netflix, which does not have time restrictions. And you say, well, Silver King, they try to end every show in 2.5 hours. Maybe they try. They go 2:38, 2:45, 2:27. We know as viewers, there are no time restrictions on this broadcast. Do I need to be any more clear about how this was absolutely ridiculous? Why were we not allowed to watch the brawl? Can you imagine if an NFL game just went off the air when it entered overtime? Yeah, I know WWE has used cliffhangers for years. This is 2025. The show is airing on a streaming service, Netflix. It's illogical now. If you wanted to do this on USA Network for SmackDown, okay, fine. I'm not going to complain about it. But what's particularly ironic and hysterical here, Chris, is there was actually a fight after the Monday Night Football game. And ESPN not only stayed with it, they kept talking about it even after it was over. But even besides that, this match was rough as hell. The heels winning was okay. It's always better when the bad guys have the WarGames advantage. But really, we couldn't have had McIntyre blindside Jim with a Claymore and get a clean 1-2-3. Logan beats dude with a distraction roll-up. That's the best we can do. A roll-up in a WarGames advantage match. There wasn't even time to let it sink in. Oh, wow, we just lost the advantage because the brawl continued. So they no-sold the loss of the advantage, which was important and the reason the match took place in the main event of Raw. You never would have known anything was actually at stake the way Raw ended. After that, the first brawl was mediocre. The second brawl seemed better. It got cut off for no reason. And they pulled the bottom third gag for the second straight week, except this time we already knew he was in the building. So it was straight up dumb. In stark contrast to the women, everything about the build for men's WarGames feels like it's taken a huge step back from 2024. The match construction, the storylines, and now the go-home segment. The star power in the match is unquestionable. It is absolutely a stadium PLE-worthy main event from that standpoint. It just left a lot to be desired, both Monday night and in totality, and this was a lackluster go-home. After on SmackDown, it seemed, oh my God, they're actually going in the right direction. They turned the other way on Raw.
Yeah, I didn't understand when they showed Brock walking in. My first thought was, why are you showing us this? Like, we know he's not in the match. We know he's going to show up at the end. Why give away that surprise? The bottom third didn't even mean anything. And like we said, this is the second week in a row they've done it. It's the second week in a row they've cut the show off during a fight. And we had the thing last week. The whole idea was Jim Ross or or Tony Schiavone saying, we're out of time. We'll see you on Thunder while it's going off. And you make the point about the NFL game. Actually, it's actually pretty funny. I was watching the Detroit Lions and the New York Giants in overtime on Sunday on Fox, which then cut away from overtime.
It did?
To go. Yeah, because I don't have Red Zone or Sunday Ticket or anything.
Okay.
I just watch whatever the local game is on my Fox. It switches over to like the pregame of Cowboys Eagles. So I had to
because your local area was Texas. That's
yeah.
why. Okay.
So I had to pull up an illegal stream to watch the end of Lions Giants. So I literally had that experience of them cutting away from an overtime game. So I guess in WWE's fence that did happen, but that's because they had to cut to another game. It's not like Netflix is taking me to something else. In fact, when it ends, they don't take me to something else. It just ends, and then it says your event has ended, and you're just like, why did it end? We didn't have to do this. They've done this several times now. Like, if the whole point of going on Netflix, they said, was like, you never quite know when the show is going to end.
Right. They literally told us that as viewers.
But it is supposed to end. Like, there is supposed to be an end to it.
Right.
So I just, very weird decision on all of those fronts. You know, to your point about not being able to soak in or kind of talk about what it means to get the advantage, they also beat one of the greatest tag teams of all time.
Right.
In the Usos. Like, it was smart for the baby faces to have the Usos be their team and not, both world champions, because the whole idea is that they're a tag team, and one of the best, and a tag team is better than two singles people. Now the two singles people won because of shenanigans, which is fine. But we didn't really get to kind of get in on that.
But you have, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you have McIntyre there who needs victories, right? Because we've been so angry at the way he's been booked. And you have a situation, you've created a situation. This is the thing that bothers me when it comes to WWE and really AEW, all wrestling. You've created a situation that's perfect. Like, they did the brawl. We've seen it a million times. It's fine. And then you have two choices. You have a million choices, but they had, let's make believe, two choices on their plate. Logan can roll up Jimmy, which shrug, or Jimmy, who's completely distracted, who can take a fall at any point because he's never won a singles title. He's never been booked as anything. Doesn't matter. He can turn around and take a Claymore and get a 1, 2, 3. Why would you not do the one that's better? There's no reason.
Yep,
that's the problem.
Exactly. So a lot of opportunity here, a letdown for what it was. I do think, by the way, this men's team, the face men's team is maybe the most prolific team of all time.
It is. In terms of WWE, at least, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, you have CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, all absolute Hall of Famers, some of the best ever, some of the best of their generation, and one of the greatest tag teams of all time, one of the most accomplished tag teams of all time. Like, that is as good as it gets.
It's the same team as last year with Cody in for Sami Zayn. And that team, we looked at that and said, holy crap, that thing's loaded.
Now it's even more loaded.
But now you have the WWE champion in this match. And
both world champions.
Yeah.
It's kind of wild.
It's absolutely, by the way, let me just, because we glossed over it, Chris, I don't want this to get lost. In, I think, 2 of his last 3 or 4 on-screen appearances, Brock Lesnar has split his pants and slipped on a banana peel. Like, you want to talk about karma? You really lose a lot of aura when you're a big, bad man who looks like a jackass twice. I also don't know why I said man like man like that or whatever I just said. But when you're a big, badass dude and you split your pants and then slip, I mean, it goes away a little bit, man.
And it's also kind of lost anything he gained by beating Cena, which was totally unnecessary. Anyway.
It's like, forget about that. They don't even talk about it anymore. That made, oh my God, that made no sense.
No, I mean, when he beat The Undertaker, I still defend that decision. And that turned Brock Lesnar into, it took him to another level, and it became an untouchable thing. But the whole Brock Lesnar character coming out in jeans and flannel and all the stuff is like, the whole point of him there is that he's like relatable. That's the character you're kind of doing, but he's the heel now. So none of it fits.
Yeah.
It's just weird.
It's very odd. And redoing Suplex City when it was great in the moment, but then Cena won a few times afterward, and then not having Cena win a few times afterward. It's really odd. All right, Chris, let's get into our prediction for the men's WarGames. I'll let you go first on the women. I'll go first here on the men. You know what? Just like you were kind of indicating with the women, where the babyfaces won all 3 years, the babyfaces have won the last 2 years for the men. But what's interesting is whatever side had a Samoan on it has won all 3 years. So the Bloodline, the first year against Brawling Brutes, if you remember how ridiculous that setup was. Then you had Jey Uso on the side against Judgment Day, Cody, Rollins, Zayn, and Orton. That was in 2023. And last year, of course, it was the Bloodline and CM Punk in the match. So they've always won. CM Punk is 1-0. And I think Jey, so that's pretty much saying Jey is 3-0. So this will be his 4th straight here. Looking at
Correct.
these sides.
That is right. You are correct. I looked up the numbers here. Jay like Io Sky, undefeated.
No. Io is defeated. I told you. The Damage Control lost a couple years ago.
Better than Io.
Io has been in everyone. Jay has won all of them for the men.
Yep.
But again, let's just
they're calling him Mr. WarGames. That's Jay's new nickname. We need to start that. Mr. WarGames, Jay Uso.
Well, let's see if he goes 4-0, because then it would actually be appropriate. Look, I look at these teams, and sure, if you're looking at the 10 men in the ring, who's the one who can take the fall? Jim Uso, right? Obvious. Jay could take it also and continue cracking the way he's been cracking. But you know what? Logan Paul's there. Bronson Reed could take the fall. Braun Breaker to a lesser degree, but he could. No. Lesnar, if they're writing him off, could. I don't think he will. And McIntyre is the one person in this match from the heel side who they cannot beat. They can't.
This is definitely ending with Cody pinning Drew.
If that's what happens, I mean, look, they're still going to fight again because McIntyre's been attacking him. And like, now that you say it, yeah, I could see Cody beating Drew. I could see it because he'd get even more enraged, and he's already suspended, and that match is going to happen again. And I still believe on November 25th that before this year is out, Drew McIntyre, or I should say before the Royal Rumble is over, Drew McIntyre will be the WWE champion, and Cody will not be going into WrestleMania. I still believe that. Let's see if
Cody may beat him 5 more times before then, but
I still believe McIntyre gets that title by the end of the Royal Rumble. I mean, I guess they could do it in an Elimination Chamber, but I'm going to say by the end of the Royal Rumble, McIntyre is the WWE champion, and it's all going to pay off at least to that end. Going back to the prediction here, so yeah, you kind of threw a wrench in where I was going here. When you have a team that has Cody, Punk, Reigns, and to a lesser extent Jay, Mr. WarGames, but also one of the most over people in the entire company, I just don't see how you can have this other heel side that just is not anywhere near as strong win. At least with the women, it's close. I believe you do need to go babyface heel on the show. You can't have the faces win both. You can't have the heels win both. Logan taking the fall would be fine. CM Punk and him fighting for the title at Royal Rumble seems like it's happening, so maybe you don't go in that direction. Here's what my official prediction is going to be. Roman Reigns pins Bronson Reed because Bronson got the singles win over him. They don't need to rematch. This will be Reigns getting his just due. I think the cage breaks somehow and Lesnar winds up outside of it and doesn't factor into the finish. Because really, if all 10 dudes end this match in the ring, then the heels have to win because Lesnar is a monster. The only time he's ever really been put down is when they piled all that shit atop of him at SummerSlam when Reigns won Last Man Standing, right? So you can't keep the beast down. And if he's in the ring, then I don't see how the heels don't win. Therefore, I think Lesnar somehow winds up outside the ring. Reigns Superman punches and spears Bronson Reed. The baby faces win men's WarGames.
That's a good way. If it's going to happen, that's a sensible way to do it, I think. I'm going to go with the heels. I think Jim gets pinned. Doesn't have to. I think a lot of guys could get pinned. I think you could have Drew pin Cody. And that'd
be amazing.
That is the thing that gives you the reason to do the next Cody Drew match.
Because he is not to interrupt you, I'm sorry, but he is suspended, right? And Nick Aldis is like, F you. Now he can say, hey, I'm suspended, but yeah, I got a win over him. And Cody's like, I want to beat his ass because he bloodied me in my bus. So,
Yeah. I just think a lot of these heels could really use this win as I look at it. And to have 2 babyface champions in this company right now, that doesn't happen very often.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking of the women too, Stephanie Vicaire and Tiffany. Like, I don't know, Jade won. So I guess Jade's a heel. But 3 of the 4, to have 2, you need to start some things with these champions. They're all up high and mighty. It's the greatest WarGames team we've ever seen, led by Mr. WarGames himself, Jey Uso. And I think you need to knock them down a peg, and a WarGames loss is the way to do it. So I'm going to go with the heels.
I think there's a great chance that happens. And really, Chris, what I'm most excited about is that we are diametrically opposed in our predictions for these WarGames matches. So it's possible that 2 heel sides win. It's possible 2 babyface sides win. It certainly happened before it happened last year.
Yeah. So they've had the faces win both of them the last 2 years.
The last 2 years, yes. I want to say that. I think the faces are 5-1 in WarGames.
So it's not something we see very often. And I think that's often gone against our picks. I think we've usually split it 1-1 each. Makes sense for that reason.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting. It's possible one of us is 100. Like, it could really go either way. It's possible one of us is 100% right. It's possible that Triple H is, continues with his quote unquote boring booking in that the faces have just kept winning. And so we split it. Or it's possible that they split it in the other direction and the heels go 2-0, which would be really interesting, actually, coming out of this show through the end of the year, given everything that's happening with some of these storylines. So I got to tell you, for a show that only has 4 matches on the card, and for one that you and I believe is being booked extremely well when it comes to the women's War Games and not as well when it comes to the men, there is a lot of intrigue going into Survivor Series War Games, and ultimately, I am excited for the show this coming Saturday.
Same. I just wish there was more of it on the card.
Yeah, I completely agree. So, Chris, that wraps up the WWE Survivor Series
War Games
Ultimate Preview, but we still have to give our pre-show expectation grades. And just a reminder for everyone, you can vote in polls before and after Survivor Series
War Games
on Twitter at Getting Overcast. And when you follow us on social media, whether it's Twitter or Blue Sky at Getting Overcast, you get episode drops, news, analysis, highlights. You can send in questions and comments for the show. We will try to read them both Saturday on the Instant Analysis and then next Tuesday on our WWE Second Look episode. But follow us there for all those reasons, in addition to voting in those pre- and post-show polls. So, Chris, what is your expectation, one more time, for Survivor Series
War Games?
I need to start saying the meaties like that when we do those.
The meaties.
This is such a This is such a hard thing to grade, because it's not like there's not a ton on the line. There's 2 belts, but one is like a secondary belt that's not really the main part of the story. It's so packed into those 2 matches. The other thing is that, like, War Games matches are, like, historically not good matches. Like, the idea is there and there's history, and sometimes you go back and watch some old ones, but, like, it's never like, oh man, it's hard to grade a War Games match in A. It's kind of just a cluster by the nature of the match. So I'm gonna go A-, because I think the matches will be good enough. Cena Dominic will be okay. Should be a pretty good match. Stephanie and Nikki, I don't think it's going to be a great match. It's kind of whatever. I'm going to go on a low A-, like a 90 out of 100.
I agree with the stance that War Games matches generally aren't great. If I'm thinking back, and I could totally be wrong, the one with like Sami Zayn earning his right into the bloodline, I feel like we gave an A because there was storyline significance in addition to it. And I want to say there was one of the women's matches that we gave an A as well. I think the rest of them kind of fell below that, to your point.
I can barely even remember them. Like, you remember spots, but they've become matches that are often so separate from story that they're not really moments, other than, like you said, the Sami thing.
Right. That stands out so much. I mean, that was incredible at the end of that with what was it, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, right? And Jay and Jimmy. Yeah, that was incredible.
Or that was when Sami joined. Yeah, Sami joined the bloodline, officially got the
right,
full hug
because he hurt KO. He made
was
the
that
decision.
was it Jimmy? Was it Jimmy that hugged him? Because Jimmy was uncertain about it.
I thought that I remember that storyline. There was a situation where like Jimmy was about him and Jay was hesitant, and then Jay was
hesitant, and it was the I think Sami may have saved Mr. War Games Jey Uso in that match,
something like that. We should rewatch that one before the
and Jay hugged him. That was one of the big pops. Was the Jimmy hugging? The Jay hugging Sami.
That storyline was so freaking good, man. Oh my god. Anyway, I agree with you in terms of the matches are generally not that great, but the people involved in these, the star power in the men's match is insane. The talent in the women's match, and star power too, is pretty ridiculous. Now, it's a little bit overloaded, I would say, on the face side of the women, but still, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that can happen in that match. You said the Intercontinental Championship's a mid-card title. True, but it's a match involving John Cena and Dominic Mysterio in San Diego. I have really high expectations for that. Women's Championship, it'll probably be the lowest match on the entire card. I want to, disagree with you when it comes to the expectation grade that way were different, but the number that you uttered is the one that I had written down. 90 out of 100, A-. It's exactly what I expect. I expect it to be barely better than that kind of B+, which is really what we consider an average B+, B for a lot of premium live events and pay-per-views. We don't usually go that much lower than that. I think it'll be a little bit better than that. If they add a 5th match, an Ilya Dragunov open challenge, if there's a surprise, there's some big storytelling element, then I think it could, go to the high A- range, maybe hit a 94. But I can't imagine that it would go any higher than that. To me, that's probably the ceiling for the show.
I just think the nature of kind of the event makes the ceiling pretty low.
Yeah, I believe that's true. And you know what? The same can be said too for a lot of these. Elimination Chamber, Royal Rumble. I think Money in the Bank is the one where you say, well, that can be an A+ show because both ladder matches can be incredible because ladder matches are like the greatest gimmick,
Rumble can. Rumble is always the most, it's the most like excited you get for anything all year.
But it's very difficult to have an A-level Royal Rumble match, let alone entire show.
It is. Like, I've gone back and watched Royal Rumbles. I've never really gone back to watch many Elimination Chambers or War Games or stuff like that. That's the thing. Just by the nature of the style of the match. Like, it's so easy to create moments in the Rumble. It's hard to do that in War Games and Chamber.
It is. And really, the moments are decently repetitive. Like, the moment from last year, unfortunately, was Bronson, I almost called him Braun Breaker. Bronson Reed breaking his, I forgot what that thing's called, talus bone, in his ankle. Yeah. That's the moment from last year.
Don't do that again. Don't do that. I was so upset that they did that.
Here's the thing. The reason that didn't work is because he landed on the table and he landed obviously feet first. If there was a person there, if the table was closer to the ropes, he would have been fine.
If a person was there, he would have killed him. Don't do that again, please.
So I just want to clear. I want to clear going into War Games. You do not believe that spot's going to happen again.
No, because he got hurt, and I think they know how stupid it would be.
Do you think they teased the spot again?
Ooh, maybe. They could.
I kind of feel like they're going to do it again.
They're going to need commentary to remind us.
Yeah, I think maybe they double stack a table and put someone on top of it. Maybe do it that way. I don't know.
How about like 4 tables so we doesn't.
That's what I'm saying. Like 4, like a 4 stack.
It's like
2 and 2.
It's like an adventure movie when someone falls and they hit 50 different tree branches to kind of catch.
Yeah, think about the way they've built tables up in like the the TLC matches before with the hard. I'm sorry, I spoke over your. That was good. That was very good. Like the TLC matches they would do with the Hardys and the Dudleys where they do the 2x2 stack of tables.
I love it. It looks great and it's safe as hell.
Right. Do that and let Bronson Reed jump and do the tsunami and land on someone. Like I
like
want
a pillow. Like he'll land.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it'll be fine. It'll be comfortable. It won't be an issue. I think they somehow do it again. I don't know how they do it, but I guarantee he won't eat shit on him by himself. Like just with the person moving and him just landing. That won't happen again. Either that or.
What if he puts a garbage can on himself and does a moonsault off of it?
I don't think he can do a moonsault.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Well, he probably could, but yeah.
Jeff Cobb can do a moonsault. I don't know that, or excuse me, JC Mateo can do a moonsault. I don't think Bronson Reed could do it, or maybe he could. Maybe from the top he could. Yeah, he is athletic to do it enough from the. He is athletic enough, to do it from the top. But I think that's way too dangerous, especially with a trash can. For him, let's keep that to Io Sky, who we know will do that spot because she's done it in every single War Games. On the way out here. 2 really quick topics. Triple H, let's not forget, he said he didn't want gimmick pay-per-views, got rid of Hell in a Cell, changed some other things. I'm okay with Royal Rumble and Money in the Bank. Chris, I do believe it is time for WWE to rethink War Games and Elimination Chamber, especially when they're 4 months apart, like I said earlier. Chamber, you can at least book for relatively easily. You can do number 1 contendership. You can do a title match, which we've talked about this. They need to get back to doing title matches, not just number 1 contenderships where you have 2 number 1s in the Rumble and 2 number 1s in Chamber, and you can't build a real WrestleMania storyline, right? But I've said this before on the show too, when we've done this ultimate preview for Survivor Series War Games. Split it up. If you want to keep War Games, do 1 War Games match, 1 traditional Survivor Series match, alternate between the men and women. You don't have to alternate every year. Alternate as the storylines dictate. And if you do that, I just think everything's going to be it's going to make a lot more sense. It's not going to be as forced because what have we talked about now 2 years in a row? Last year, the men were built well, the women weren't. This year, the women were built well, the men weren't. And if those matches that were not built well were Survivor Series elimination matches instead of WarGames matches, it would make a lot more sense.
Yeah, on your Elimination Chamber point, the biggest problem is it becomes so the Elimination Chamber number one contender stuff the last couple of years completely devalues the Royal Rumble because we see people lose the Rumble, then win the Chamber to get a match anyway. Cena just did that.
It doesn't devalue it. It doesn't devalue it, but it takes away the prominence of it. The Royal Rumble still has value because these guys earn number one contenderships, but it's no longer like that one path to get to WrestleMania, which it used to be. Otherwise, you had to create a storyline reason for that other person to get into the match.
Devalue's not the right word, but it takes away the stakes because we see people lose the Rumble, then win the Chamber,
right,
and get themselves in. And it's like, well, the whole point of the joy of the Rumble is that's your one opportunity. So, and I do agree with you on the WarGames Survivor Series part. Split it up, do 1-1. Like the nature of the elimination format of Survivor Series, like helps you tell different kinds of stories. And like, I remember some Survivor Series matches. I remember the Dolph Ziggler one against that group of people when they fired them all. I remember 2001, the Alliance versus Team WWF. Like, I've never really gone back to watch WarGames other than the old ones, back to the old WCW. Like the WWE ones are just, they're not memorable. And I think Survivor Series creates some stakes. That's my biggest issue, I think, with WarGames is that it's very often not put around a storyline, or at least advancing a story. It's multiple stories thrown together and there's no stakes.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like the winning team gets anything or the person who gets the pin gets something. And I think it doesn't have to be a number one contender spot, but just like something to come out of it other than just we're fighting and we're all fighting together.
Well, there was a goal to take down the Bloodline, and there was a goal to take down Judgment Day. Those worked because they were factions dominating the company, and you need to team up and go to war to beat them. And then this time you just have people fighting. And it's just like
we're smacking together the biggest names we can, so it looks good on the marquee.
Exactly.
And that's okay, but like that's not you can't keep doing that. Like you just said, one of these teams is nearly the exact same team as a year ago. You can't
fighting entirely different people, basically.
Yeah, you can't keep upping this is the greatest WarGames team of all time unless you have Mr. WarGames Jey Uso in it. So you gotta get back to it being built around a story and not just like we're going to throw these names together.
It would actually make more sense for there to be just a couple stars in this and then filled out with other big names, top, mid-carders, upper mid-carder type of deal. And then you separately have a WWE championship match on the show. You have a women's world championship match on the show, whatever the case might be. It's much more logical.
I honestly, like, even the Raw versus SmackDown ones, I remember those
for Survivor Series. Yes.
Yeah. They would build stories around, different Raw people and different SmackDown people have disagreements, but there's this. Even sometimes there were stakes, sometimes they weren't. You get the commissioner involved on each show. Where is Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce putting together teams to fight each other, and the winning show gets something.
Dude, they could do it like they could do it like the MLB All-Star Game, where they pick their teams and the winning side gets the number 30 entrant in the Royal Rumble.
Yeah,
or something like that.
Or like actually pick two leaders, have Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar, whatever, pick a team, and you know what? Oh, Roman Reigns is picking Javon Evans for his team. Like, that's really interesting. Like, you get it almost like the NBA All-Star Game draft.
You could give the winning captain a title shot too. Like, there's a lot of things you could do. I mean,
yeah, they're just like, big names. We're putting them together. That's it. Like, it's lazy.
And by the way, this is not exclusively a WWE thing either. Because like with Blood and Guts and AEW, they pretty much do the same thing sometimes. And it's when WWE, they nailed it with Hell in a Cell. Paul Levesque understood it. Only bring that match out when the feud truly deserves it. For WarGames, if you want to center it here every single year, that's fine. There is never a situation in which two feuds deserve it. And that's why back in the day, in addition to the fact that WCW obviously wasn't booking women in WarGames, it's precisely why, though, there was one per year. They didn't do 2 War Games because there was one storyline that they built up to as the main event, and that was the one that deserved it.
You know, remember Becky Lynch when she got knocked out by Nia Jax, that famous moment.
Mm-hmm.
That was that was building for a Raw versus SmackDown Survivor Series.
It was indeed. Yep.
Where one show invaded the other. And that was back in the days when they wouldn't put everybody on the same shows, which we don't even talk about that anymore. But that's just completely out the window, really.
I mean, dude, it was so much worse then than it is now. I mean, the people on the show.
I'm saying it doesn't exist now because half of these shows are crossover matches.
No, I know that's what you're saying, but they're crossover matches now because they're building the tournament and they're building Survivor Series. Like they're still doing it. It's just different. Yeah, we've gone long on this, and the show is way longer than you and I expected it to be. I did have a DM though. Trey Downey at TD Experience wrote in. He said, "Silver King, since you've been all over the ESPN Unlimited stuff from the beginning, do you expect YouTube TV subscribers to be able to authenticate in the ESPN app before Survivor Series now that the deal is done? I know the integration into the YouTube TV app is going to take a while." Trey, great question. And I actually meant to address this. You know, we talked about the news segment not having a lot of news. I have news on this, and I just forgot to share it earlier in the show. So I spoke to a couple sources about what's going on with this for Comcast and YouTube TV subscribers. And these are the 2, I believe, newest deals that have been made with ESPN, new carriage agreements. They are not going to have access to Survivor Series War Games through WWE Unlimited. The expectation is that both will have them in early 2026, Comcast Xfinity, probably a little bit before YouTube TV. To what Trey is talking about, some of the ESPN Unlimited content is actually going to get integrated into YouTube TV. So I don't know that it's going to happen, but it's possible 6 months from now, a year from now, whatever, you may be able to watch a WWE PLE through YouTube TV as opposed to having to download a separate app. It's the same access. It won't matter that much, but it's pretty cool. That's going to be a possibility. But the point is, let me just wrap this up real quick. Yeah. The point is that neither of them are going to be available for Survivor Series War Games. It's possible one or both is available for the Royal Rumble. We will keep you updated here. I just will quickly use this as a reminder. You can get 4 free months in addition to the 2-year deal with NordVPN, nordvpn.com/gettingover. They're sponsoring us. It's literally a product I use. So if you're frustrated now, use it. And even if they integrate it, you're getting such a great deal on the VPN. You can use it for so many other things over the next 2 years, including getting all of this stuff commercial free on Netflix. So even if you do get ESPN Unlimited access sooner than later, the VPN is still valuable. Anyway, Chris, what were you going to say?
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Okay.
I didn't actually, I'm a YouTube TV guy. I did not realize I wasn't going to have it yet. So I was going to say, I think I'm going to have to get NordVPN.
Yeah. And we will talk about that after the show. I'll figure out how to get you some access there. But yeah, everyone else, again, it is a sponsorship, but it's a sponsorship that we actually believe in and the Silver King uses. So nordvpn.com/gettingover. And I'll kind of use this as a reminder too, that we will be back Saturday as soon as WWE Survivor Series
War Games
goes off the air with a WWE Survivor Series
War Games
instant analysis podcast. Between now and then, yeah, we will have an episode for you midweek, be it Wednesday night, Thursday morning. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone in the United States, which will cover NXT and AEW. And don't forget, this is the second episode of a 2 for Tuesday because the Silver King sat down one-on-one with NXT North American champion Ethan Page for one of the most fun interviews that we've conducted here in 5.5 years of the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. So make sure you listen to that this week as well. On the way out, because I didn't mention it in the early part of the show, allow the Silver King to remind you that here at Getting Over,
is all about Defy.
So head over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify, leave a 5-star rating on Apple, take a little extra time, leave a 5-star written review. If you do, we will read it live right here on the show. And don't forget,
I happen to love the number 5.
Hope you do as well. $5 a month, $50 for the entire year. You can become an official Getting Overhead. Just visit buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. Sign up. You'll get bonus audio, the fastest 5 minutes in professional wrestling, instant reactions to every major show, and exclusive news analysis posts every week. Please support us. We're a single sponsor show. We have no additional ads, and we've been coming to you for free for 5.5 years. Black Friday specials will be happening this week. buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. Thank you all so much for lending us your ear holes and enjoying, hopefully, this WWE Survivor Series
WarGames!
Ultimate Preview Edition of the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. This is the Silver King signing off and leaving you with just 3 final words. Bye for now.